Are you tired of saying you'll get things done and then putting them off again and again? Do you keep waiting for motivation to magically show up? If so, you're not alone, but that habit is keeping you stuck. In this video, we're going to talk about how to force yourself to work hard, even when you don't feel like it. Not with tricks or fake hype, but with real, clear steps that anyone can use. You'll learn how to build discipline, fight through mental laziness, and create a daily system that keeps you moving. If you've been feeling unmotivated, distracted, or tired of making excuses, this will give you the push you need. No more waiting for the perfect time. No more hoping for energy. You're going to learn how to lead yourself, and once you do that, everything changes. Stay with me. This might be the switch you've been needing. Chapter 1. Build discipline through simple daily tasks every morning. Discipline is not something that shows up one day. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build. And the truth is, the way you build it is much simpler than most people think. You don't need to wait for a big break. You don't need to feel motivated all the time. What you need is a routine. A simple one. One that starts every morning with small, clear, deliberate actions that you control. If your mornings are lazy, scattered, or unplanned, then your life will mirror that. Your days will feel rushed. You'll be chasing the clock. You'll constantly feel like you're behind. But if your mornings are strong, clean, and purposeful, then your days start to follow that same structure. You begin with control, and you carry that control through the rest of the day. It starts with you, right when you wake up. Before the world asks anything of you, you don't need to change everything at once. That's where people go wrong. They overwhelm themselves. They set 10 different goals, try to fix their whole life in one day, and then give up the moment it feels heavy. That's not the way. The real change, the kind that sticks, comes from the smallest daily decisions. And those decisions begin as soon as your feet touch the floor in the morning. Start with one thing. Just one. Maybe it's making your bed. That sounds simple, but it matters. Because it teaches you to finish what you start. It teaches you to take care of your space. And more than that, it reminds you that you're the kind of person who does things with care and intention. You don't leave things half done. You start, and you finish. Then move on to the next task. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water, or stretching for 5 minutes, or taking a cold shower, or reviewing your goals, or sitting in silence for a few moments before the noise of the world gets in. These are not glamorous things. They're not loud, but they are powerful. They tell your mind, I'm in charge here. And over time, you'll start to believe it. You'll start to act like it. And that's the real reward of discipline. It's not just the clean room, or the fitness progress, or the finished goals. It's who you become in the process. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you do what you say you will. That you can count on yourself. That you don't wait for someone to come save you. You save yourself, one step at a time. But most people wait. They wait for motivation. They wait for perfect timing. They wait for a spark. They don't realize that motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. If you rely on it, you'll be inconsistent forever. Discipline is different. It shows up whether you feel like it or not. It works in silence. It works in repetition. It works in the mornings when no one else is watching. And those are the most important moments. Not the public ones. Not when people are cheering you on. But the ones where it's just you, alone in your room, deciding whether to snooze the alarm or get up, whether to skip your plan or follow through, whether to make an excuse or make a move. If you want to build a life that means something to you, you have to take control of your mornings. That's where you win or lose. Not in the big presentations or the career milestones, but in the small, quiet decisions you make every single day before the rest of the world even knows you're awake. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get it all right on day one. You just have to start. Start with what you can handle. And when that becomes easy, add a little more. Build layer by layer. Don't look for instant results. Look for consistency. Look for growth. Look for honesty in your own effort. This isn't about proving anything to others. It's about proving something to yourself. That you are capable of leading your life with strength. That you are not controlled by your feelings, your urges, or your distractions. You lead them. You direct your energy where it needs to go. And that begins with how you wake up, how you think, and what you do, especially when no one is watching. You'll notice something powerful when you stick to your morning tasks. Your mind gets sharper. You feel more alert. You feel stronger. You don't stumble into your day. You walk into it with intention. That changes how you work, how you speak, how you treat people, and how you feel about yourself. Some people never get this. They live in chaos, running from one thing to the next, reacting instead of acting, hoping for things to get better without changing a single habit. But you're different. You're not going to live on hope. You're going to live on habits. You're going to wake up each day with a plan. A small one, but one that you can execute. And that plan will grow, and so will your life. It's hard at first. No one denies that. Waking up early, sticking to structure, ignoring distractions, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Because the pain of discipline is nothing compared to the pain of regret. And the people who push through those early moments, the people who stay true to their routine, even when it's uncomfortable, they are the ones who build the life they actually want. It won't happen overnight. Nothing meaningful does. But every morning, you get another chance. Another shot to show yourself what you're made of. And when you treat those moments with respect, your life starts to move. Your results begin to show. Your confidence starts to rise. And when you fail, and you will fail from time to time, you don't quit. You adjust, you reflect, and then you begin again. Because that's what strong people do. They don't let one bad day turn into a bad life. They reset, and they keep going. Don't underestimate the power of these morning tasks. They're not small. They are the foundation of everything. If you can control your morning, you can begin to control your life. That's not a theory, it's a fact. And you don't need a degree to start. You just need a decision. A decision to be better. A decision to do what's uncomfortable. A decision to grow. When you start your morning with purpose, you build momentum. And momentum is what carries you through the hard days, through the setbacks, through the doubts, through the pressure. When you've done the work every day, you don't fold when things get hard. You face it. You've trained for it. And that's what this is. Training. Every morning task is a piece of training for the life you want to live. You're conditioning your mind. You're building your habits. You're shaping your character. That takes time. That takes effort. But it works. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. It's not something you post about online. But it's real. And the results will show, not just in your career, or your body, or your goals, but in your attitude, in your confidence. In the way you walk into a room, you will feel it. People will notice it. And it all starts with a decision you make before anyone else is awake. So stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop chasing shortcuts. Stop hoping that someone else will hand you the life you dream of. Take ownership of your mornings. Start small. Start simple. Start now. Get up. Get moving. Build discipline through daily action. One task at a time. one step at a time, one day at a time, and don't stop, because every day you show up, you get closer to the person you're meant to become. That's how you force yourself to work hard, not with tricks, not with hacks, but with discipline, with structure, with a solid morning routine that you don't negotiate with. You can do this. You have the ability. You have the strength. But you need to decide. No one else can do it for you. Start tomorrow morning. Better yet, start tonight by setting the plan. Keep it simple. Keep it strong. And keep showing up. That's how real change happens. And that's how you build a life you're proud to live. Chapter 2. Develop strength by facing one challenge every single day. If you want to become stronger, mentally and emotionally, then you must be willing to face something difficult every single day. Not once a week. Not when you're in the mood. But every day. The real strength we admire in others isn't built in comfort. It's built in resistance. It's built in the hard things people choose to face when no one is forcing them to do it. That's the difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck. Some people run away from discomfort. Others run toward it. And the ones who run toward it, they change, they rise, they become something more than they were yesterday. Every day gives you a chance to become a little stronger. Not by luck. Not by chance, but by choice. The choice to take on something that tests you, something that pushes you out of your safe zone. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be something you'd normally avoid. Something that makes your heart beat a little faster. Something that forces you to use your will, your patience, or your focus. That's where strength is found. Not in doing what's easy, but in doing what's necessary when it's uncomfortable. You don't need to go looking for a huge mountain to climb. It could be something simple, waking up early, having a hard conversation, doing the workout you've been putting off, saying no to something that wastes your time, taking full responsibility for your mistakes, sitting down and doing the work even when it's boring. These are real challenges. And when you face them, you grow. You build something inside of you that no one can take away. You're not going to feel like doing it most of the time. That's normal. The brain likes comfort. It wants you to avoid pressure, avoid pain, avoid risk. But your goals, your dreams, your potential, those live on the other side of pressure. So you have to rewire your response. Instead of backing away from a challenge, lean into it. Get used to that feeling, that tension, that resistance, that friction. That's the signal. That's how you know it matters. The people who succeed long-term are not the ones who wait for courage. They are the ones who act even while feeling fear. That's strength. Not pretending you don't feel nervous, but choosing to face the thing anyway. Day by day, moment by moment. And over time, your self-image changes. You start seeing yourself as someone who can handle pressure, someone who rises, not runs, someone who leads, not hides. That shift in identity, that's the real power of facing one challenge every day. You don't need to prove anything to anyone else. This is between you and you. It's about showing up differently than you did before. It's about becoming someone who keeps stepping forward, even when things are uncertain. And when you do that consistently, you build a quiet, steady confidence. You stop doubting yourself so much. You stop waiting for permission. You begin to trust your actions. You start to feel solid, grounded, stable. That's a strength that no applause can give you, and no failure can take away. Too many people avoid discomfort and wonder why they feel weak. They avoid pressure and wonder why their life never moves. You have to realize growth and comfort cannot live in the same space. You will not become a better version of yourself by staying safe. You have to stretch. You have to reach. You have to do things that make you question your limits, and then do them anyway. Think about this. If you were to challenge yourself in one area every single day, where would you be a year from now? A small challenge each day. That's 365 personal victories. That's 365 tests that you didn't back down from. Think of what that would do to your mindset, your energy, your confidence. Think about how your life would look if you built the habit of facing resistance instead of avoiding it. It's not about doing huge things. It's about doing real things, hard things, consistently. You'll be tempted to skip days. You'll want to take breaks. You'll make excuses. That's natural, but that's also the test. The challenge isn't just in the action itself. It's in your ability to stay committed when it's inconvenient. That's what most people can't do. They fold the moment it's not easy. They tell themselves they'll do it later. But later turns into never. And they wonder why nothing changes. If you want strength, stop waiting for ideal conditions. Start building it now, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the stress, in the middle of your flaws. That's where it counts. If you can keep going when everything tells you to quit, you're growing. If you can face what you used to run from, you're evolving. And the only way to keep that progress going is by repeating the habit one challenge every day. Some days, the challenge will be physical. Some days, it will be emotional. Some days, it will be mental. But every day, it will matter. And you'll know it's working when you stop being afraid of the hard stuff. When you start choosing effort over ease. When you stop hiding behind excuses and start living with intention. This is how leaders are built. Not in theory, but in real life. By doing what's hard, by showing discipline when no one's watching, by choosing responsibility instead of comfort. The world rewards people who step forward. It rewards action. It rewards consistency. It rewards courage. You can't expect a strong life with weak habits. You can't expect real progress while avoiding resistance. The path is simple, but it's not easy. You wake up and you ask yourself, what can I do today that will challenge me? What can I do that I've been avoiding? What action will make me uncomfortable, but proud? Then you do it. That's the process. And you repeat it again tomorrow. Your brain will try to bargain. It'll tell you to take the easy road. It'll try to make the challenge seem bigger than it is. But you don't have to listen to that. You can train your mind to follow your purpose instead of your feelings. That's when you break through. That's when you stop being controlled by mood and emotion. That's when you start leading yourself. And when you start leading yourself, your whole life changes. You stop waiting for someone to push you. You stop blaming others. You take full control. You become the kind of person who does what needs to be done. Not just when it's fun, but always. Because you've built that strength one challenge at a time. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. That's part of it. Growth always starts with discomfort. But eventually, discomfort becomes familiar. It becomes your signal that you're doing something right. And over time, you'll look back and see how far you've come. You'll remember when that task used to scare you, and now it doesn't. You'll remember when that routine used to feel heavy, and now it's light. That's growth. That's the reward. The beauty of this approach is that it's simple and effective. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require talent. It requires commitment. It requires a decision to do something real every day, even if it's hard. Especially if it's hard. That's where you earn your strength. That's where you separate yourself from the crowd. If you're serious about changing your life, you have to get serious about your actions. Not once in a while, Every day, start with something small, something real. Make a list if you have to. Pick one thing that will push you, and then do it. Then repeat, then build. That's how you move. That's how you rise. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect timing. You need movement. And the most powerful kind of movement is the one that happens when it's hard, when you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. That's how you become someone others respect. But more importantly, that's how you become someone you respect. The clock is ticking. Your life is moving whether you act or not. The question is, are you growing with it or falling behind? The answer lies in your actions. Not your thoughts, not your intentions, your actions. And every challenge you face, every difficult thing you choose to confront, becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. No one can do the work for you. No one can hand you strength. You have to earn it. Day by day, one challenge at a time. Face the thing you fear. Do the task you avoid. Build the habit you've neglected. That's the path forward. And it's worth every step, because when you train yourself to face difficulty instead of avoiding it, life opens up. You stop shrinking. You stop waiting. You start living. Fully, strongly, with clarity and conviction. And that is something no one can take away from you. You're not here to be average. You're not here to play it safe. You're here to grow, to rise, to become someone who makes their life count. Start today. Choose one challenge. Face it with your full focus. Then do it again tomorrow, and the day after that. And before you know it, you won't just be getting stronger. You'll be unstoppable. Chapter 3. Set clear goals you can act upon right away. A person without clear goals will always be pulled in every direction. The day feels scattered, the energy feels drained, and the mind feels heavy. That's what happens when you don't wake up knowing what you're aiming for. And if you don't aim at anything, how can you hit anything? That's why setting clear goals is not just something you do when you feel like it. It's something you do because your life depends on it. Your time, your energy, your effort, all of it deserves direction. Clarity gives you strength. When you know what you want, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop jumping from one thing to another, hoping something will finally work out. Most people don't get what they want because they haven't decided what they want. They walk around saying they want change, they want more, they want to grow, but they haven't taken the time to sit down, look at their life honestly, and say, this is exactly what I'm going after. Goals don't need to be perfect. They need to be clear. You don't need a 10-page plan before you act. What you need is a specific target and a small action you can take right now. That's how movement starts. That's how momentum builds. You say, this is the result I want. This is why I want it. And this is the action I can take today to start heading in that direction. That's where clarity meets progress. A goal that's not clear will always feel overwhelming. You'll avoid it. You'll overthink it. You'll feel stuck before you begin. But a clear goal, a real goal that you can describe in one sentence, gives your mind something to focus on. It tells your body where to go. It gives your choices meaning. And the moment your life has meaning, your energy shifts. You're no longer dragging yourself through the day. You're directing yourself with purpose. Start with one area. Just one. Don't try to fix your entire life in a day. Pick one category that matters to you right now. It could be your health, your work, your finances, your mindset, or your daily habits. Don't overcomplicate it. Just ask yourself, what do I want to change here? And then follow it up with, what can I do today to move 1 inch closer to that? That second part is the key. Too many people set goals they can't act on. They dream about losing weight, but they don't make a plan for today's meals. They talk about starting a business, but they don't schedule time to work on it today. They want peace of mind, but they don't block out time to reflect or journal. Wanting something isn't enough. You have to build the habit of turning your goal into an action and doing it today. Don't worry about the whole staircase. Just find the first step. That's how real progress begins. Not with massive change, but with small movement that builds confidence. The clearer your goal is, the easier it becomes to find that first step. If your goal is vague, your actions will be vague. And vague action leads to vague results. If any, write your goals down. Don't keep them floating in your mind. Your brain is for thinking, not for storage. Put the goal on paper. Make it visible. Make it real. Something changes when you see it written in front of you. It becomes a promise to yourself. A decision, not just a wish. Then break it down. Make it so simple that you cannot avoid taking the first step. Ask yourself, if I wanted to make this real, what's the smallest action I can take today that would move me in the right direction? Then do it. No debate. No overthinking. Action builds clarity. Waiting builds doubt. You'll be surprised how powerful small, clear actions can be. When done consistently, they stack. They grow. They move you from where you are to where you want to be. Most people think they need to do something huge to feel proud. But what you really need is to stay consistent with things that matter. And that's only possible when your goals are clear. You'll face resistance. That's natural. Your brain will try to complicate the process. It will tell you the goal isn't big enough, or that the action is too small to matter. Ignore that noise. Your job is not to impress anyone. Your job is to build a foundation you can trust, that begins with being honest about what you want, and making it real through action. Clarity also makes you more resilient. When you know what you're working toward, setbacks don't hit as hard. You don't spiral when something goes wrong. You adjust. You refocus. You stay aligned with the bigger picture. You don't quit after one failure because you've already committed to the destination. A person with a clear goal cannot be stopped easily. Their mind is sharp. Their day has structure. Their energy has direction. They don't waste time. They don't chase distractions. They know what they're building, and they show up for it, even when it's hard. You don't have to get everything done today. That's not the goal. What matters is building the habit of clear thinking and consistent action. You become the kind of person who knows where they're going. That's more valuable than talent, more valuable than resources, because clarity gives you leverage. It gives you power. You start to live with discipline, not because someone is watching, but because your actions matter to you. They are connected to a goal that means something. That's what makes you stronger. That's what makes your life feel whole. Not drifting, but building. And here's what most people miss. Goals are not just about achieving something. They're about becoming someone. The process you follow to reach a goal changes who you are. It shapes how you think. It teaches you to follow through, to plan, to endure, to focus. That's the real win. The goal just gives you a reason to show up that way. So don't wait for perfect timing. Set a goal today. Something clear. Something simple. Something you can take action on immediately. Write it down. Break it into steps. Pick the first step and do it. Then do it again tomorrow. That's how confidence is built. That's how discipline is formed. That's how lives are changed. You'll notice your energy starts to rise. You'll stop wasting time wondering what to do. You'll wake up with a mission, and that mission will bring you direction. When others are distracted, you'll be locked in. When others are guessing, you'll be moving. That's the advantage of living with clarity. Not every goal has to be huge. What matters is that it matters to you. Something that helps you move from where you are to where you know you need to go. Maybe it's a financial milestone. Maybe it's reading more. Maybe it's strengthening your self-control. Maybe it's finally starting a routine you've been putting off for years. Whatever it is, define it, own it, and work on it every day. Track your progress, not to impress others, but to remind yourself that you're doing what most won't. You're showing up. You're putting in the work. You're becoming someone better because of it. That alone is worth every ounce of effort. There's a peace that comes when you know you're living on purpose. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to compare your pace with anyone else. You just keep moving, because you've got something to move toward. You also gain respect from yourself and from others. People can sense when someone is serious. They can feel it when you speak with clarity. When your actions match your words, when you're not just talking but building. That kind of respect cannot be faked. It's earned through quiet, steady, focused action. The more you train your mind to focus on clear goals, the less power your excuses will have. You stop being a victim of your moods. You stop giving energy to things that don't move you forward. You become intentional. And that intention reshapes your entire life. The only question you need to answer now is this: what is one clear goal you can define today? And what is the smallest action you can take right now to move toward it? That's the work. That's the challenge. That's the opportunity. Decide what matters. Make it specific. Take the first step today. Then do it again tomorrow. That's how you build a future that belongs to you. That's how you take your power back. One clear goal at a time. One clear action at a time. And one disciplined day after another. Chapter 4. Conquer distractions by creating strict personal work routines. There comes a point when you realize that distractions are not just harmless moments pulling your attention. They are the hidden enemy that robs you of your progress, your energy, and your potential. Every time you give in to a distraction, you're not just losing a few minutes. You're stepping away from the direction your life should be moving in. You're telling yourself, this can wait, even when your future depends on it. And the truth is, if you keep letting distractions control your time, you'll never know what you're really capable of. There's only one way to take that control back. You must build strict personal work routines that leave no space for distractions. Not because you want to be rigid, but because you want to be free. Free from the noise. Free from the endless cycle of starting and stopping. Free from the regret that comes when another day ends and you've done nothing meaningful. A strict routine isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. When you plan your time clearly and stick to it, you take command of your life. You stop reacting to everything around you. You start creating your own path. You stop scrolling, switching, wandering, and you start working. You move with direction, and over time that creates results that can't be ignored. Most people never reach their goals because their days are filled with interruptions they allow. Their phones buzz. Their inbox fills up, their mind drifts, and by the end of the day they wonder where all the time went. But it didn't vanish. It was traded for nothing, and that's the cost of not having a routine. If you want to rise above that, you need structure. Not just any structure, your structure, one that fits your goals, your values, your ambition. You design it, you protect it, and you live by it. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient. Every single day, start by carving out a block of time where your full attention belongs to your most important work. No phone, no tabs open, no multitasking, just focused effort. It could be 1 hour, It could be 3. What matters is that it's real, it's consistent, and it's protected. You treat that time with the same seriousness you would treat a meeting with someone you deeply respect, because in that time, you're meeting the version of yourself you're trying to become. Your routine doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to work. Some people do their best work early in the morning, others late at night. Figure out when your mind is sharpest and lock that time in. Don't negotiate with it. Don't trade it away. Build your day around it. Because if your most productive time is lost to distractions, you're giving away your best self to things that don't deserve it. Once that block is set, you build habits around it. You train your mind and body to show up for work when it's time, no matter how you feel, no matter what else is going on. Because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It only asks what you're committed to. You don't wait for inspiration. You don't wait to feel ready. You follow the schedule. You sit down. You start. The first few minutes may feel heavy. You may feel restless. But once you get going, the mind shifts. The noise fades. You get into your rhythm. That rhythm is built on trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the system you've created. You also need to prepare your environment. Clean it. Simplify it. Remove every object that pulls your focus. When your space is clear, your mind becomes clear. Don't underestimate the power of a quiet space. It sets the tone. It removes excuses. It tells your brain, this is where we work. Over time, that association becomes strong. You walk into that space, and your mind knows it's time to produce. Then comes the most important part, protecting the routine. Life will always try to pull you away from it. You'll get invited to things. You'll feel tempted to delay. Emergencies will show up. But the people who make real progress are the ones who hold the line. They protect their time like it matters. Because it does. Don't be casual with your focus. Don't be flexible with your purpose. Treat your schedule with respect. That doesn't mean you don't adjust. It means you don't let distraction win. You reschedule only when absolutely necessary. And even then you come back to it. Because when you start skipping your routine even just once, it becomes easier to skip again. And that's how momentum dies. Every time you keep your promise to your routine, you gain strength. You train your mind to respect your time. You build a relationship with yourself based on discipline. And that relationship matters more than anything else. Because if you don't believe your own word, you'll never have the confidence to pursue anything big. Strict personal routines also reduce decision fatigue. You no longer waste energy wondering what to do next. You know, the plan is already set. Your job is to follow it. That clarity brings peace. It saves energy for what really matters. Deep work, thoughtful action, real progress. You'll also notice something powerful. When your routine is in place, your distractions start to shrink. The urge to check your phone gets quieter. The temptation to switch tasks loses its grip, because your mind knows where it belongs. It's trained, and a trained mind is a powerful mind. But here's the truth. This won't be easy in the beginning. You'll struggle. You'll want to break the routine. You'll want to make excuses. That's part of the process. Growth isn't supposed to feel comfortable. It's supposed to feel challenging. But if you push through those early days, everything changes. You build something solid. Eventually your routine becomes part of your identity. It's not something you try to follow. It's something you live by. It becomes natural to wake up and go straight into action. It becomes normal to block out the noise. And when others are distracted, you're locked in. People will wonder how you stay so consistent. They'll ask what motivates you, but it's not motivation. It's design. You designed your days to support your goals. You created structure, and you committed to it. That's what makes the difference. No more scattered energy. No more wasted mornings. No more unfinished tasks. Just a steady routine, guiding your focus towards something that matters. And when you live that way, you don't just get more done, you become more. This way of living brings clarity. You know what you're working on. You know when you'll do it. You know why it matters. That kind of certainty gives your mind rest. You don't feel pulled in 5 directions. You feel grounded, centered, and even when life throws curveballs, as it always will, you still have something to return to. Your routine becomes your anchor. It brings you back to what matters. It helps you reset. That's the power of structure. This doesn't mean your days are robotic. It means they're intentional. It means your energy is being used for progress instead of wasted on distractions. And in a world full of noise, that discipline becomes a superpower. Every goal needs a routine to support it. Dreams don't happen through willpower alone. They happen through systems. Routines are those systems, and when followed, they take you places motivation never could. You don't need to feel overwhelmed. Just take one step. Create one block of focused time. Set it. Protect it. Use it. Then build from there. Add structure to your day. Turn your priorities into scheduled actions. Track your habits. Watch your time. Protect your focus. You'll see the difference almost immediately. Your mind will feel clearer. Your confidence will rise. Your results will show. And the best part, you'll know that you're finally taking control of your life. You're no longer being dragged around by distractions. You're leading your time. You're deciding your focus. You're choosing your direction. That is where real freedom begins. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You don't need to work 20 hours a day. You need to work smart and protect the hours that count. You don't need to impress anyone. You need to honor your own path. Start today. Build a routine that supports your best self. Stick to it when it's hard. Defend it like it matters. Because it does. Over time, that routine will shape your days, and your days will shape your life. That's how you conquer distractions. Not by hoping they disappear, but by building something stronger. Something that gives your time purpose. Something that builds the life you know you're capable of living. One routine at a time. One focused day after another. That's how you win. Chapter 5. Train your mind to push through uncomfortable situations daily. Most people want success, progress, strength, clarity, and confidence, but very few are willing to go through the uncomfortable moments that create those things. If you're not willing to deal with discomfort, you're not willing to grow. Every time you walk away from something difficult, just because it doesn't feel good, you give up control of your life. Your mind gets weaker, your spirit becomes more fragile, and you start building a habit of escape. But if you're serious about change, you need to train your mind to move toward discomfort, not away from it. This isn't about being reckless. It's about being deliberate. Deliberate about building mental strength. Deliberate about doing what needs to be done, even when it's tough. Because life doesn't care about your feelings. Life responds to action. And when your mind has been trained to face challenges, to keep going when it would be easier to stop, you begin to separate yourself from the average person. You start developing an edge. Not because you're smarter or luckier, but because you've chosen to become stronger. The best training doesn't happen in peace. It happens when things are uncomfortable, unpredictable, or uncertain. That's when your mind is tested. That's when you learn what you're really made of. Anyone can show up when things are smooth. But what do you do when things feel heavy? What do you do when the process feels boring, or difficult, or painful? That's the question. And your answer to that question decides who you become. You don't build mental strength by avoiding stress. You build it by leaning into it in controlled ways. Every time you choose to face something you'd rather avoid, you send a message to your brain. I don't run from pressure, I move through it. That message rewires you. It gives you power. It makes you more confident, not because things are easier, but because you're getting stronger. Start with small things. Maybe it's holding your focus a few minutes longer when you want to quit. Maybe it's speaking up when you'd rather stay quiet. Maybe it's pushing your body through one more round of work when your muscles are tired. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be real. The point is to develop the habit of continuing when discomfort shows up. Most people do the opposite. The moment they feel discomfort, they pull back. They stop. They look for a way out. But that only teaches the mind that pain equals exit. That pressure equals retreat. And that lesson, when repeated, creates a weak mindset. One that will always be dominated by feelings. And when your feelings decide your actions, your progress becomes inconsistent. You start things but don't finish. You make promises you don't keep. You build dreams you don't follow through on. But you're not here to be controlled by temporary emotions. You're here to lead your life with intention. That means being uncomfortable on purpose. That means recognizing when something is difficult and choosing to push through anyway. Every time you do that, you train your brain to associate effort with progress instead of pain. That shift is powerful. When your mind is trained to push through the hard parts, you stop relying on motivation. You stop needing everything to feel perfect before you act. You move even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And that becomes your standard. Not perfection, not ease, but effort. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay the same. There will be moments when your mind tries to talk you out of something important. It will say, "This is too much. Take a break, do it later." It doesn't matter, but you need to learn to recognize that voice and not obey it. That voice is fear. That voice is weakness. That voice wants you to stay the same. You don't have to listen to it. You can observe it, ignore it, and take action anyway. That's how you develop discipline. You don't need to feel brave. You need to act anyway, because action creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. The moment you stop waiting for the right mood and start acting based on your principles, your life starts changing. Not because everything around you gets easier, but because you get tougher inside. This doesn't mean you enjoy the discomfort. It means you respect it. You understand that pain has a purpose. Frustration has a role. Struggle is part of the path. Instead of resisting it, you embrace it. You say, "This is exactly where I need to be. This is how I grow." And in doing so, you take your power back. Don't make the mistake of trying to avoid all difficulty. That's not success. That's survival. And survival doesn't build anything worth having. If you want to succeed, you need to learn how to keep working when it's no longer exciting, how to keep pushing when it's tiring, how to stay committed when no one's watching. Every single day brings opportunities to practice this. When the alarm goes off and you want to sleep longer, that's your moment. When your plan gets interrupted and you want to quit, that's your moment. When you feel uncertain, uncomfortable, or unmotivated, that's your moment. These are your daily reps, not for your body, but for your mind. And the more reps you do, the stronger your mindset becomes. When you build this kind of resilience, you stop being shaken by small problems. You stop reacting emotionally to everything. You start acting based on what needs to be done, not how you feel. That gives you freedom, because you're no longer a slave to your moods. You're in control. You start to value the discomfort, not because it's pleasant, but because it's shaping you into someone better. You start to seek it out. You start to chase growth instead of avoiding it. You begin to live like someone who's serious about change, not just talking about it. And over time, people will notice something different about you. They'll see how you move with purpose, how you keep showing up, no matter what. They'll wonder how you stay steady under pressure. But you'll know it wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was training. Daily, deliberate training, not for show but for strength. You'll also start trusting yourself more. When you face discomfort and move through it, you build proof that you don't fold under pressure, proof that you do what needs to be done. And that proof becomes belief. A belief that you can handle whatever life throws at you. That belief is priceless. That belief changes how you walk into the day. It changes how you approach goals. It changes how you handle conflict, rejection, failure, and challenge. It gives you an edge in a world full of people looking for the easy way out. You don't need to seek pain for no reason. But you do need to understand that if you only move when it feels good, you'll never make it far. Because the road to anything meaningful is filled with resistance. Your ability to face that resistance determines how far you go. You can train this. You can build it. You can become the kind of person who shows up every day, not hoping it's easy but ready either way. That kind of power doesn't come overnight. It comes through consistent effort. It comes through daily choices. It comes through refusing to quit when it would be easy to. If you want to build a strong body, you train it. If you want to build a strong mind, you do the same. But the exercises are different. They involve focus, presence, effort, discipline, and courage. You face the hard things, and you don't run. You breathe through the stress. You choose the action, and you do it again the next day. Soon what used to feel impossible starts to feel normal. The things that made you uncomfortable become part of your routine. You stop being surprised by challenge. You welcome it. You see it as part of the process. You don't panic. You don't resist. You respond. That's how you grow. That's how you rise. That's how you earn the life you want. Not by waiting for comfort, but by learning to move through discomfort. One day at a time, one situation at a time, one decision at a time. You won't get it perfect. You don't need to. You just need to keep going. Keep training. Keep showing up. Your strength is built in those moments where most people would stop. And the more you build, the less fragile you become. Train your mind to do what's hard. Train your mind to stay steady when it's uncertain. Train your mind to keep going when it's inconvenient. That's the real work. And that's the work that changes your life forever. Chapter 6. Boost motivation by tracking your progress each day. Progress is what keeps people going. When you can see that your effort is producing something, even something small, you feel a surge of motivation. You feel connected to the process. You don't feel like you're just moving without direction. You feel like you're building something. But if you don't track your progress, your mind forgets. You lose sight of how far you've come. And when that happens, your motivation fades, not because you're weak, but because you're blind to your own improvement. Every day that you show up and put in the work, something changes inside you. But if you don't take the time to notice that change, to measure it, to reflect on it, you'll start feeling like it's not working. You'll start doubting your path. You'll start wondering whether it's even worth it. That's why tracking your progress isn't just helpful, it's necessary. It keeps your mind anchored in your effort. It proves that your actions matter. It creates a connection between who you were and who you are becoming. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need fancy tools or long spreadsheets. You just need a place to write things down. A notebook, a journal, a simple note on your phone. Every day you take a moment to write what you did, not what you hoped to do, not what you thought about doing, what you actually did. That's the real scoreboard. That's where your motivation starts to build. When you look back and see that you've kept promises to yourself for 3 days, then 5 days, then 10 days, you begin to feel proud. That pride turns into energy. That energy turns into momentum. And momentum gives you the strength to keep going, even when the days feel heavy. You don't need to rely on motivation that comes and goes. You rely on your own proof, your own record, your own path. Most people get discouraged too quickly because they don't give themselves any credit. They only focus on how far they still need to go. They forget to pause and notice how far they've already come. They forget that the gap between now and the goal is only as wide as the next step. And when you track your daily steps, you shrink that gap in your mind. You realize you're moving forward, even if the pace is slow. Daily tracking also makes you honest. It forces you to face the truth. Did you do the work or not? Did you follow through or not? No stories, no justifications, just truth. And that truth, while it may be uncomfortable at times, is what leads to growth. Because the more honest you are, the more aligned you become with your goals. You stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending. You either did it or you didn't. That kind of clarity cuts through the noise and makes improvement simple and real. Progress tracking isn't about being perfect. It's about building awareness. It's about showing yourself that your time and effort are not wasted. It's about creating a trail you can follow back when doubt starts to creep in. Because there will be days when you feel stuck. Days when your mind tells you that nothing is changing. And on those days, being able to look back and see your own consistency is what keeps you grounded. Think about how powerful it is to look at a page and see a streak of action. Maybe you've gone 12 days in a row, working on your goal. Or you've completed a task every morning for a week straight. That visual proof speaks louder than emotion. It reminds you that you're moving, that you're building something, that the effort is compounding. Motivation built on results is more stable than motivation built on feelings. Because feelings fluctuate. They rise and fall depending on what's happening around you. But results, no matter how small, are solid. They don't disappear overnight. They give you something to hold on to. Something you created with your own 2 hands. Tracking also helps you adjust. Maybe your plan isn't working as well as you thought. Maybe a routine needs to change. When you have a record of what you've been doing, it's easier to spot the patterns. You can see what's working and what's not. You can make smart decisions. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder. You can look at the data of your own life and make real improvements. And when you do see improvement, when you see that something you started doing 2 weeks ago is starting to pay off, that lights a fire, that kind of motivation is personal. It doesn't come from a book or a speech. It comes from watching your own life get better because of your own effort. That kind of motivation stays with you. It's quiet, steady, and reliable. Don't underestimate the emotional impact of progress tracking. Some days you'll feel like you've failed. You'll feel tired or behind. But when you open your log and see that you've been showing up more than you thought, your mood shifts. You stop beating yourself up. You start remembering that effort counts. You realize that discipline is alive in you, even if today didn't go perfectly. People often ask how to stay motivated. The answer is simple: make progress visible, make it tangible, make it real, write it down, review it, reflect on it. That connection between your work and your results keeps your internal drive strong. You stop working just because you should, and start working because you see what it's doing for you. Some days, the progress will be small. Maybe you only did one task. Maybe you only improved by 1%. That's fine. That's enough. It's the accumulation of those small wins that builds something meaningful. It's not the size of the action, it's the consistency. And the only way to stay consistent is to pay attention to the journey, not just the destination. If you're trying to build a new habit, tracking is your anchor. Every checkmark, every note, every line on the page becomes a sign of commitment. You're not just thinking about change, you're living it. That builds pride. That builds self-respect. And self-respect is one of the most powerful forms of motivation there is. This is your responsibility. No one can track your progress for you. It's your job to keep yourself accountable, to know what matters, to track what matters, to protect what matters. When you take that kind of ownership, everything changes. You start living with more awareness. You stop drifting. You stay aligned. Motivation that is built from your own data is different. It's stronger because it's yours. You earned it. You built it. And that creates momentum that's hard to stop. You stop needing reminders. You stop needing outside pressure. You're driven by your own progress. That's rare. That's powerful. The goal is not to live perfectly. The goal is to live better than yesterday. The only way to know if that's happening is to track it. To look at your life, your habits, your routines and say, here's where I improved. Here's where I slipped. Here's where I'll go next. That awareness keeps your motivation rooted in truth, not just hope. You'll notice something else too. When you track your progress daily, your standards go up. You don't want to break the chain. You don't want to go back to old patterns. You start holding yourself to a higher level, not because anyone told you to, but because you respect your effort. You want it to mean something. You want it to count. Even when progress feels slow, tracking it gives you a sense of control. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you're not where you were. And that's worth something. That deserves recognition. That deserves consistency. You don't get stronger by being hard on yourself. You get stronger by being honest and staying committed. Make it simple. Use a notebook, a wall calendar, an app, or just a piece of paper. But do it every day. Track what you did. Track what you skipped. Track what worked. Track what didn't. Make it a habit. Make it part of your routine. Don't overthink it. Just write it down. And when the hard days come, and they will, you'll have something to lean on. You'll have proof that you're moving forward. You'll have a record of effort. You'll have something solid to stand on when motivation starts to slip. Progress gives you hope, but tracking gives you evidence. And evidence builds belief. Belief in your discipline. Belief in your direction, belief in your ability to change. That belief becomes your fuel, and that fuel is what will carry you through the obstacles ahead. Start today. Track what matters. Build motivation with every action you take. Watch your effort compound, and keep going because the version of you you're building is worth it. Every small action, every daily win, every record of progress, it all counts. It all adds up. It all creates a stronger, better you. Chapter 7. Establish powerful habits by repeating meaningful actions consistently. You don't need to change your whole life in one day. You just need to choose the right action and do it again and again until it becomes a part of who you are. That's how powerful habits are built. Not by doing something once or twice when you feel motivated, but by locking into something meaningful and repeating it with purpose. Over time, that repetition builds strength. It builds identity, and it shapes the future you're trying to create. Habits are the structure behind every result. You can set all the goals you want, you can talk about discipline and focus, but if your daily actions don't match your vision, nothing will change. A habit is a decision made over and over until you no longer debate it. And the most successful people don't wait for motivation to act. They depend on habits to carry them when motivation fades. But not all habits are created equal. Some lead nowhere. Others create progress. You have to make sure the habits you're building are connected to the life you want. You have to choose actions that matter. Actions that mean something to your future. Not distractions, not shortcuts, not trends, real habits built on real values. To establish those habits, you need consistency. Not once in a while, not when it's easy. Every single day. Repetition is the key. You don't rise because of intensity. You rise because of consistency. Even a simple action, when done daily, becomes powerful. It teaches you to keep showing up. It rewires your brain. It sets a standard. Most people fail to build habits because they're chasing excitement. They want fast results. They want to feel progress every hour. But habits aren't about excitement. They're about alignment. You do the work not because it feels good, but because it brings you closer to your vision. And the truth is, the most powerful habits usually feel boring at first. But boring is not the enemy. It's where the magic begins. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't get excited to do it, but you do it anyway. You do it because it matters, because it's tied to your health. That's how your other habits should feel. Solid, clear, automatic, built into your routine, not open to negotiation. The only way to get there is by repeating meaningful actions until they feel normal. You don't skip because it's hard. You don't stop because it's slow. You keep going because it matters. And every time you repeat that action, it gets a little easier. The friction fades, the resistance weakens, and the habit starts working for you instead of against you. When you build habits around what matters most to you, you gain momentum. You stop second-guessing. You start trusting yourself. You build proof that you follow through. And that proof becomes belief. That belief becomes confidence. And that confidence changes everything. Your habits should be simple enough to follow but strong enough to create change. They should be built into your morning, your afternoon, your night. You decide when and where they happen. You create the system and you follow it. Not just for a week, but for life. Start with one habit that you know will improve your life. Don't try to build 10 things at once. That's a trap. You'll feel overwhelmed and end up quitting. Focus on one meaningful action. Something that, if done daily, would move your life forward. Lock it in. Set a time. Set a place. Make it real. Track it if you need to. Check it off every day. Keep it visible. Let your brain see the pattern forming. And if you miss a day, don't miss 2. Missing once is a mistake. Missing twice is a pattern. And patterns become identity. That's why consistency matters more than perfection. It's better to show up imperfectly than to not show up at all. You're not just building habits. You're building a reputation with yourself. Every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. If you want to be someone who's disciplined, focused, and strong, then your daily actions must reflect that. You can't just think about who you want to be. You have to act like that person now, even if it feels awkward, even if it feels unfamiliar. That's how transformation works. Habits are not just physical actions, they're mental commitments. They train your thinking, they train your attention, they train your reactions. You learn to work when it's quiet. You learn to stay on task. You learn to finish what you start. That mental strength carries into every part of your life. If you want to succeed in anything, health, business, relationships, personal growth, it starts with the habits you build when no one's watching. The private victories lead to public results. It's not about showing off. It's about showing up, quietly, consistently, with intention. Every day you have a choice. Repeat the habits that move you forward, or repeat the ones that hold you back. No one can make that choice for you. It's your responsibility. You are the builder. You are the system. You are the solution. This is not about having a perfect plan. It's about taking real action. A meaningful habit repeated every day beats a brilliant idea that's never followed through. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start. Start now. Start simple, and grow from there. There will be days when you feel like nothing's changing. That's normal. Progress hides itself at first. But underneath, your mind is learning. Your behavior is shifting. Your character is forming. And suddenly you wake up one day and realize you've changed. Not because you said you would, but because your actions made it real. You'll start seeing the difference in how you think, how you work, how you speak, how you respond to stress. You'll carry yourself with more clarity. You'll have more patience, more focus, more strength. And it all started with small repeated actions. Habits also protect your energy. When your actions are automatic, you don't waste time deciding what to do. You don't fight with yourself. You don't debate. You follow the system that saves mental energy for the work that matters most. You start freeing yourself from chaos. You no longer live in reaction. You live by design. You're not bouncing from task to task. You're not chasing results. You're following a clear path. One habit at a time. One action after another. This is how lasting change happens. Not in a moment, but in the process of repeating what matters until it shapes who you are. That's the power of habits. They work in silence, but their impact is loud. Your job is to stay consistent. Don't break the chain. Don't chase variety. Stay with the actions that align with your vision. Stay with the habits that support your best self. And let time do the rest. You won't always feel like doing it. That doesn't matter. Feelings are not the foundation. Standards are. Your standards tell you what gets done. Your habits make sure it gets done. You're not looking for easy. You're looking for meaningful. And that's what gives your life strength. Let today be the day you lock into something real. Pick one habit. Something clear. Something honest. Something that makes your future stronger. And repeat it. Do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Stack the days. Build the streak. Watch your life change, not through inspiration, but through action. This is your edge. This is your power. The discipline to do something important every day, until it becomes who you are. Not for applause, not for recognition, but because you've decided to build a life you're proud of. One habit at a time. Chapter 8. Master resilience by finishing tough tasks without giving up. It's something you earn by refusing to quit when things get hard. It's the strength you build when you decide that finishing matters more than feeling comfortable. Most people start things with energy. They feel excited. They talk about their plans. But very few stay in it long enough to finish. They get tired. They get distracted. They run into resistance. And they stop. That's the difference between someone who stays average and someone who becomes strong. The strong one keeps going. They finish what they start, especially when it's tough. Finishing tough tasks is not just about getting the result. It's about proving something to yourself, that you can handle pressure, that you can follow through, that your word means something. Every time you finish something hard, you change. You develop a layer of mental toughness that wasn't there before, and that strength stays with you. It helps you the next time life feels heavy. It reminds you that you've faced hard things before and made it through. If you give up every time something feels difficult, you'll spend your life starting over. You'll always be at the beginning. You'll always be chasing the next thing, hoping this one will be easier. But nothing meaningful is easy. If it was, everyone would have it. What separates people is not their talent. It's their endurance. It's the decision to keep moving when it gets hard, to keep working when it's boring, to keep trying when it feels slow. That's what builds resilience. You learn to push through, not in theory, but in action. When the task is long, and your motivation is gone, and no one is cheering you on, you still show up. You stay with the process. You finish what you start, because you made a commitment, not to impress someone else, to respect yourself. And that respect grows every time you hold the line. Resilience is not about being tough all the time. It's about not folding when things don't go your way. It's about staying in control when your plans fall apart. It's about staying calm when pressure builds. And the only way to build that kind of stability is by walking through the fire of difficulty without backing down. You build resilience by staying with hard conversations, by solving problems that seem too complicated, by taking responsibility when things get messy, by choosing discipline over escape. Every one of these moments adds a brick to your foundation. You get stronger, not just physically, but emotionally. You learn that you don't need everything to be perfect to keep going. You need grit, you need focus, and you need to stay locked in on the finish line. The pain of not finishing something important lingers. It leaves a hole in your confidence. It creates doubt. You start wondering if you're really capable. But every time you finish something difficult, you take that doubt away. You replace it with belief. A belief built on evidence. And that belief becomes the fuel that carries you through the next challenge. The world doesn't hand out strength. You earn it by doing hard things. Not once, but consistently. When most people pull back, you move forward. When it gets uncomfortable, you lean in. You stop looking for easy. You start trusting effort. And that's how you become someone others can rely on. More importantly, someone you can rely on. You don't need to feel fearless to be resilient. You just need to act with courage. Courage isn't loud. It's the quiet decision to keep working when your feelings tell you to stop. It's the patience to stay with a task that's taking longer than expected. It's the discipline to finish something simply because you said you would. People often quit because they let their emotions lead their behavior. They feel tired and stop. They feel uncertain and delay. But emotions are temporary. If you let them run your life, your results will always fall short. Resilient people don't ignore their feelings. They move despite them. They let their purpose lead. They let their standards guide them. This doesn't mean you force yourself through everything without rest. It means you know the difference between needing a break and making an excuse. You learn to be honest with yourself. You ask, is this moment hard because I need rest, or because I don't want to deal with discomfort? That kind of honesty is what builds true inner strength. Finishing tough tasks requires you to simplify. Don't think about the whole mountain. Focus on the next step. Break it down. Move forward. Stay present, one block at a time, one move after another. That's how you reach the end, by staying focused on what's right in front of you. Not on the pressure, not on the clock, on the task. Resilient people create habits that support finishing. They plan their day. They schedule their priorities. They eliminate distractions. They protect their focus. And when interruptions come, they return quickly. They don't stay off track. They reset, and they get back to work. You train your mind to finish by choosing not to give up, even once, because the moment you start quitting when things get tough, it gets easier to quit again. You teach your mind that quitting is allowed, and over time that becomes your reflex. You feel resistance, and you shut down. That's why the standard must be clear. Finish what you start. You won't feel proud of everything you finish, but you will feel proud that you stayed with it, that you didn't walk away, that you didn't break your promise, and that pride is not ego. It's proof. It's what allows you to face new tasks with confidence, because deep down you know you can handle pressure. You've done it before. You also become an example. People see how you move, how you stay in it when others give up, how you don't fold. That influence is quiet but powerful. You don't need to preach it. You live it, and people feel it. Resilience also means dealing with failure and still finishing strong. You might not get the outcome you wanted, but you showed up. You stayed in the fight. You gave your full effort. That matters, that builds you, that teaches you to respect the process, not just the result. Every time you finish a tough task, you raise your personal standard. You set a new baseline for what you're capable of. You expand your limits, and that expansion carries into every other part of your life. You stop being afraid of hard things. You stop shrinking under pressure. You start welcoming challenge. Not because you enjoy pain, but because you trust yourself to get through it. This doesn't mean your journey will be perfect. You will stumble. You will fall behind. But resilience isn't about being flawless. It's about being relentless, about standing back up, about not letting temporary failure become permanent identity. You must decide now that you are a finisher, not someone who starts things and fades out, but someone who sees it through, someone who doesn't back down, someone who chooses to be dependable, especially when it's tough. That decision changes how you move. It shapes your mindset. It becomes your standard. Start today. Pick one task you've been avoiding, one thing that feels heavy. Commit to finishing it. No debate, no delay, just action. And when it's done, take a moment to feel what that finish gives you. Let it sink in. That's resilience being built. That's who you are becoming. Repeat it tomorrow, and the next day. Let finishing become your habit. Let effort become your default. And watch how your life starts to rise. Not because things got easier, but because you got stronger. One tough task at a time. One finish after another. That's how resilience is earned. That's how character is built. That's how lives are changed. Chapter 9. Increase productivity by organizing your day every night. Productivity doesn't begin in the morning. It begins the night before. If you wait until the day starts to figure out what matters, you're already behind. The day moves fast. Distractions show up. Priorities shift. Time disappears. But when you take time every night to plan your next day, you give yourself direction before anything else can take it from you. That one habit, organizing your day before you sleep, can completely change your life. Most people wake up and go straight into reaction mode. They check their phone. They respond to messages. They start doing whatever pulls their attention first. And by the time the day ends, they feel like they were busy, but not productive. They did a lot, but none of it really moved them forward. That's what happens when you don't plan with intention. That's what happens when you leave your day to chance. Planning the night before is not about controlling every moment. It's about setting a clear focus. When you know what matters, you spend less time on what doesn't. Your energy goes to your real goals instead of being scattered across small, meaningless tasks. You wake up with purpose instead of confusion. You move into your day with clarity instead of hesitation. You start working, not wasting time trying to figure out where to start. You don't need to plan every second. You just need to define the most important things. Ask yourself one simple question before you go to bed. What are the 3 most valuable things I must complete tomorrow? Write them down. Don't leave them in your head. Seeing them on paper locks them into your awareness. It turns them from vague ideas into real responsibilities. And when you write them down, you also free your mind. You don't go to sleep with a list of worries. You don't spend the night tossing and turning about everything you forgot. You rest better because your mind trusts that you have a plan. That small act of planning reduces stress, sharpens focus, and saves time. When your day starts with structure, you feel more confident. You don't wonder where to begin. You already know. You're not waiting for motivation. You're already moving. The morning becomes a time of action instead of delay, and the more mornings you start with action, the more progress you create. This one habit also gives you control. No matter how busy life gets, no matter how unpredictable things become, you always have a foundation to come back to. You always know what your day is supposed to look like. And when interruptions show up, you're not thrown off completely. You adjust, and you return to the plan. That ability to refocus quickly is one of the most valuable traits you can develop. Planning at night also helps you reflect. You can look at how your day went, what worked, what didn't, what took longer than expected, what you avoided. That insight makes your planning smarter. You stop repeating mistakes. You start seeing patterns. You learn how to improve, not just react. You begin to understand how you really use your time. You stop lying to yourself about being too busy. You see what you're choosing to do, and that awareness pushes you to make better choices. Planning becomes a tool for growth, not just productivity. You're not just checking boxes, you're shaping a life. It doesn't take long. 5 to 10 minutes at night is enough. A pen, a notebook, a quiet space. That's all it takes. It's not about having a perfect system. It's about having a clear intention. Your job is not to plan a fantasy day. Your job is to prepare for real effort, real results, real movement. You're not making a wish list. You're creating a schedule you will follow. That means being honest. Don't fill your plan with unrealistic tasks. Choose what matters, prioritize what counts, and make sure your plan matches your current season. Don't overload yourself. Stay sharp, stay steady. When you start this habit, you'll notice your days feel lighter. You won't waste time wondering what to do. You won't get lost in distractions. You'll move with more discipline, more calm, more power. Your actions will have direction. Your energy will have purpose. You'll also see results stack faster. You won't spend the first hour of your day trying to get your bearings. You'll already know the most important thing to do, and you'll go straight into it. That early win builds momentum. That momentum carries you through the rest of the day. Even when your motivation is low, your plan keeps you moving. You don't have to negotiate with yourself. You follow the structure. That structure gives you an edge. It makes you more reliable, more effective, more productive, and over time, that productivity turns into progress. You finish more projects. You stay ahead of deadlines. You have more time for the things you care about, because you're not wasting energy on things that don't matter. You're not running around reacting to problems. You're solving them with purpose. Your reputation changes too. People see you as someone who's focused, someone who doesn't waste time, someone who shows up ready, prepared, consistent. That kind of reputation is valuable. It opens doors, it earns trust, it creates opportunities. But most of all, your relationship with yourself changes. You trust your ability to plan and execute. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You stop carrying guilt at the end of the day, because you know you did what you said you would. You built the day before it began, and you followed through. This habit is especially powerful when life gets chaotic. When stress levels rise, when things get uncertain, most people fall apart. They go into survival mode. But if you've been planning your days every night, you have something solid to stand on. You don't panic. You simplify. You adjust, and you keep moving. It won't always be perfect. You'll make mistakes. You'll miss tasks. But that's not the point. The point is to keep showing up, keep refining, keep improving. Your discipline is not built in perfect days. It's built in daily effort, built in repetition, built in the quiet moments when you choose structure over chaos. Planning every night also helps you focus on what really matters. You stop filling your day with noise. You stop doing things just to feel busy. You ask better questions. What moves me forward? What supports my goals? What deserves my time and attention? And you fill your schedule with those answers. You become more intentional, more grounded, more in control of your time and energy. That kind of living brings peace. You stop rushing. You stop reacting. You start building, brick by brick, task by task. One focused day after another. Start tonight. Take 5 minutes. Open your notebook. Think about tomorrow. What do you need to do? What is essential? What needs your full attention? Write it down. Be clear. Be simple. Then close the notebook. Sleep knowing you're ready. When the morning comes, you won't have to search for purpose. You'll already have it. You won't waste your focus. You'll use it. And by the time others are still figuring out their day, you'll already be moving. That's how you increase productivity. Not with hacks, not with shortcuts, with structure, with clarity, with the discipline to organize your day before it begins. That one habit, repeated every night, will sharpen your focus, improve your results, and give you the kind of control most people never experience. This is your edge. This is your system. This is how you rise, by ending your nights with a plan and beginning your days with purpose. Over time, those simple moments of planning will shape everything about your future. Chapter 10. Ignite your passion by reminding yourself why you started. There will be days when everything feels harder than usual, days when progress is slow, days when nothing seems to go right, days when your energy is low and your mind is filled with doubt. On those days, motivation won't show up. No one will come to save you. No speech, no video, no book will be enough unless you have something inside that keeps you going. That something is your reason. The reason you started. The reason you decided to change. The reason you chose this path in the first place. Most people forget their reason as time passes. They get lost in the daily routine. They get caught up in expectations, in pressure, in problems, and the original spark begins to fade. They keep working, but something feels off. Something feels heavy. That heaviness doesn't come from the task itself, it comes from disconnection. When you lose connection to your reason, everything becomes harder. But when you reconnect with your reason, your passion returns. Your energy rises. Your commitment deepens. Your reason doesn't have to impress anyone. It just has to matter to you. Maybe you started because you were tired of feeling stuck. Maybe you were tired of breaking promises to yourself. Maybe you saw something in yourself and knew it had to be developed. Maybe you made a commitment to someone you love. Whatever it was, that reason gave you strength at the beginning, and that strength is still there. But you have to bring it back into focus. You do that by reminding yourself every single day why you're doing this. You remind yourself before the day begins, before the date creeps in, before the distractions show up. You don't wait until you're discouraged. You start each day with that reason in front of you. You write it down. You say it out loud. You look at it and you feel it. That's how you stay aligned. That's how you reignite your passion when the work feels routine. You didn't come this far to forget your purpose. You didn't start this journey just to give up when it got uncomfortable. You made a decision. That decision wasn't just a moment of inspiration. It was a turning point. And now it's your job to remember that. Because when you remember why you started, the resistance loses its power. The excuses shrink. The frustration doesn't hold you the same way. When you reconnect with your reason, your habits gain fuel. You stop acting out of obligation and start acting out of intention. You don't need to force yourself to work. You want to work. You want to keep building. You want to keep growing because you're connected to something deeper than the surface results. That's what passion is. It's not always loud. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, unshakable. Passion is when you do the work even when it's hard, because your reason still matters more than your discomfort. Passion doesn't mean you're always excited. It means you're always committed. But that kind of passion has to be protected. Life will give you plenty of reasons to forget it. You'll face problems. You'll face pressure. You'll face people who doubt you. And that's exactly why you must return to your reason every day. Not once. Not when things are easy. Every single day. You return to it by reflecting. By asking yourself, why did I start this? What was I feeling when I decided to change? What was I running from? What was I running toward? What did I promise myself back then? And am I still living up to that promise? Those questions bring your focus back. They strip away the noise. They take you out of your current stress and put you back in touch with your deeper truth. They remind you that your journey isn't just about tasks and schedules. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. This is what most people miss. They treat their goals like chores. They treat their days like checklists. And slowly they lose that emotional connection to their own life. But your work should matter. Your habits should matter. Your progress should matter. And if you want it to matter, you have to feed it with emotion. You have to connect it to something real. You don't need a new strategy every time you feel stuck. Sometimes you just need to pause and remember what's at stake. What happens if you keep going? What happens if you give up? Who gets impacted by your decision? What will your life look like 6 months from now if you stay committed? What will it look like if you walk away? Those questions bring clarity, and clarity fuels fire. You start to see the truth again. You start to feel the urgency again. You stop wasting time on distractions and start moving with purpose. You stop listening to fear and start listening to your own reason. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to feel uncertain. But it's not okay to let that tiredness make you forget who you are. You are someone who chose growth. Someone who saw something in themselves that had to be expressed. Someone who knew they were meant for more. That truth didn't disappear. It just got buried under the stress. But it's still there, and you can bring it back anytime. One of the most powerful things you can do is create a space for reflection at the end of your day. Not just to review what you did, but to reconnect with why you did it. You take a few minutes. You sit in silence. You breathe. You remember the pain that made you move. You remember the desire that made you commit. You remember the version of yourself that made the decision to start. And you let that memory recharge you. When you reconnect with your reason regularly, your discipline gets stronger. Your focus sharpens. You stop living like everything is optional. You live like your future depends on today's choices. Because it does. You can't afford to forget your reason. Not when the stakes are this high. Not when your future is being shaped by your current behavior. Not when your identity is being shaped by what you choose to finish. You don't need motivation. You need memory. The memory of why you said yes in the first place. You can write it on your wall. You can carry it in your pocket. You can say it to yourself before you begin. But whatever you do, don't let it fade. Keep it alive. Keep it close. Because on the days when your effort feels heavy, your reason will carry you. Some people never finish what they start, because they lose touch with what made it important. They lose sight of the impact. But you won't be that person. You'll be the one who stays connected. You'll be the one who works with heart. You'll be the one who keeps showing up. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. You already have what you need. You have the will. You have the mind. You have the strength. All you have to do is remind yourself what it's all for, why it matters, who you're doing it for. And once you do that, you don't hesitate. You move. Every step you take with that reason in your heart becomes powerful. Every action becomes meaningful. You're not just passing time. You're building something with intention. You're shaping a life. You're honoring your commitment. That kind of passion can't be copied. It has to come from within. This is how you stay consistent. This is how you grow stronger. This is how you keep your fire alive. By choosing again and again to remember the reason you began. No matter how far you've come, no matter how hard it gets, that reason is still inside you. Reach for it. Focus on it. And let it guide you forward. Always. Chapter 11. Challenge your limits by doing something slightly harder daily. Growth doesn't happen when things are easy. Growth happens when you step just outside your comfort zone and do something slightly harder than yesterday. The people who change their lives don't wait for the perfect time. They don't wait to feel completely ready. They test themselves every day in small ways that stretch their abilities. That daily challenge is what builds real progress. Not leaps, but inches. Not huge breakthroughs, but steady climbs. If you want to improve, you need to create a habit of doing one thing each day that pushes you a little further than where you are. Not so big that you feel overwhelmed, but just enough to make your mind wake up and your body respond. The challenge might feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is where growth lives. You don't get stronger by repeating what's already easy. You get stronger by doing the hard thing anyway. Most people stay stuck because they avoid pressure. They fear what might happen if they fail. But failing isn't the problem. Staying the same is the problem. And the only way to stop that from happening is to challenge your limits. Not once in a while, but every single day. You need to ask yourself daily, what can I do today that I couldn't do yesterday? And then go do it. Your limits are not fixed. They expand every time you prove to yourself that you can handle more. That proof doesn't come through talk. It comes through action. When you do something hard and make it through, your brain rewires. You become more confident, more grounded, more capable. That becomes your new baseline. And from there, you can reach even higher. Doing something slightly harder each day teaches you discipline in the purest form. It forces you to act even when it's uncomfortable. It teaches your mind that challenge isn't the enemy, it's the path. You begin to expect effort. You begin to chase effort. You become someone who welcomes pressure, not because it's easy, but because it makes you better. You don't need to make massive moves. You just need to stretch your ability a little more every day. If you ran for 10 minutes yesterday, run for 12 today. If you spoke up in a meeting once yesterday, speak up twice today. If you studied for an hour yesterday, study for an hour and 10 minutes today. These small adjustments add up. They compound. They turn into massive progress over time. The key is to stay aware of where your current edge is. You need to know what's comfortable and what's just beyond it. And then you need to reach into that discomfort every single day. Don't go too far too fast. Just enough to feel the stretch. That stretch is where your growth lives. That stretch is your signal. It's not about perfection. It's about effort. You don't need to master the task right away. You just need to try. You need to step into the discomfort without needing it to feel perfect. That action alone builds something inside you that no book or speech ever could. When you do something slightly harder each day, you stop being surprised by difficulty. You start seeing it as part of the process. You stop complaining about how hard things are, and you start asking, how can I grow from this? That shift in thinking is powerful. It puts you in control. It keeps you in motion. You also begin to develop mental toughness. That toughness comes from knowing you've faced pressure before and made it through. It comes from knowing that every time something feels impossible, it's only because you haven't done it yet. Once you do it, the fear shrinks. Your confidence rises, and your next step becomes a little easier. This habit teaches you that effort matters more than comfort. That real confidence is built through challenge, not praise. That strength is earned through repetition, not talent. That every day is a chance to become someone stronger. If you choose to push, you start to recognize that the gap between who you are and who you want to be is not as wide as you once thought. It just takes steady pressure. Daily action, one hard thing at a time. The world is full of people waiting to feel ready. But readiness isn't what brings results. Action is. If you keep waiting until everything feels right, you'll spend your whole life standing still. You need to move now, with what you have, where you are. And you need to stretch just a little more than you did the day before. This is how you outgrow fear. You face it every day in small doses. You train your mind to deal with pressure. You build courage like a muscle. And one day you realize you're doing things that used to scare you. You're living a life that used to feel out of reach. All because you chose to lean into the hard parts instead of avoiding them. Start with something small. Don't overthink it. Pick one thing that makes you hesitate. That thing you keep putting off. That task you've been avoiding. That challenge you've been telling yourself you're not ready for. And do it. Just one step. And tomorrow take it a little further. Let that become your system. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to honor your potential. You need to stop accepting your current limits as final. They're not. They're temporary. And they're meant to be broken. Not all at once, but daily, with quiet, steady action. The power in this habit is not just in the results it creates. It's in how it transforms the way you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to be pushed. You become someone who pushes, who moves forward without waiting, who creates momentum instead of waiting for it. This habit also changes how you deal with setbacks. You no longer see failure as a sign to stop. You see it as proof that you're challenging yourself. You see it as feedback. You adjust. You try again. You keep moving. Because you've trained yourself to expect resistance and move through it anyway. You build trust in yourself when you challenge your limits consistently. That trust is earned, not given. It's built when you keep showing up for yourself. When you keep doing the hard thing. When you keep proving that you're not here to stay the same. That you're here to evolve. You won't always feel like doing it. That's part of the challenge. And that's exactly why it matters. If you only act when it's easy, you'll never know what you're capable of. But if you act when it's hard, if you lean into discomfort every day, you'll discover strength you didn't know you had. You'll start to see growth everywhere. In your confidence, in your habits, in your ability to handle stress, in the way you speak, in the way you move, in the way you think. That growth is earned by facing hard things. And each day you do, you become harder to break. The world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs people who are willing to reach, to stretch, to challenge themselves on purpose. That kind of life is not easy, but it's meaningful. It's not always comfortable, but it's powerful. Challenge your limits daily, and you'll never feel stuck for long. You'll never feel like life is passing you by. You'll feel alive, engaged, in motion, and that motion leads to fulfillment. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know you're doing what you're capable of doing. You're becoming who you're supposed to be. That's the goal, not comfort, not ease. Growth, evolution, power, purpose. All of that is waiting for you on the other side of your current limits. And the way to get there is simple. Do one thing today that's just a little harder than yesterday. Then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Keep going. Keep stretching. Keep rising. That's how you build a life that means something. One hard step at a time. Chapter 12. Strengthen your willpower by keeping small promises every day. Willpower is not a gift. It's not something some people are born with and others aren't. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be strengthened. Not by reading more books or watching more videos, but by doing one simple thing consistently, keeping small promises to yourself every day. Not big ones. Not impossible ones. Small ones. Real ones. The kind that matter, not because they're loud, but because they build trust with the person who matters most, yourself. You don't need to move mountains. You just need to follow through. If you say you'll wake up at 6, then wake up at 6. If you say you'll drink a glass of water first thing, then do it. If you say you'll work for one focused hour, then sit down and work. These things seem small, but they're not. They're the foundation of self-discipline. Every time you do what you said you would do, even in the smallest way, your willpower gets stronger. Most people think willpower is about saying no to bad things. It's not. It's about saying yes to your commitments. It's about following through when no one's watching. It's about proving to yourself, over and over, that you mean what you say. That your words are not just talk, they're instructions that you obey, even when it's hard. That kind of follow-through rewires your brain. It teaches your mind that excuses don't matter here. That delay isn't welcome here. That personal promises are sacred here. When you break a promise to yourself, even a small one, It chips away at your confidence. It's not just the task that's undone, it's the trust that's damaged. And the more often you do that, the harder it gets to believe in your own ability. You start thinking discipline is for someone else. You start lowering your standards. And before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle of setting goals, breaking them, and feeling disappointed. But when you keep promises, even simple ones, something changes. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You feel more grounded. Why? Because you trust yourself. And that trust isn't built in one day. It's built brick by brick, promise by promise, day after day. You don't need more motivation. You need more follow-through. Motivation fades, feelings change, but decisions backed by consistent action, that's where power is found. And you build that power by starting small. Too many people try to change everything at once. They make big declarations and then fall apart when the effort feels too heavy. Don't do that. Choose one thing, one small promise. Keep it for a week, then another, then another. It could be as simple as making your bed every morning, not because it's impressive, but because you said you would. That's the power of small promises. They don't impress other people. They change how you see yourself. They remind you that you're the kind of person who follows through. And it's not about perfection. You're going to mess up. That's part of it. But the key is not to let one broken promise turn into a pattern. If you fall short one day, get back on track the next. Don't delay. Don't wait for the perfect reset. Reset now. The faster you return to the promise, the stronger your will becomes. Every time you follow through, you gain energy. Every time you avoid, you lose it. That's why some people feel tired all the time. It's not just physical. It's emotional exhaustion from saying one thing and doing another. It creates internal conflict. But when your actions match your words, you feel clear. You feel steady. You feel in control. And control is everything. When you feel like you can control yourself, you stop needing to control everything around you. You stop blaming other people. You stop looking for shortcuts. You take ownership, and that ownership gives you freedom. You realize you don't need to rely on mood or circumstances. You rely on discipline, on the habits you've trained, on the promises you keep. This is where strength is built, not in the big moments, but in the quiet ones. The moment when it's early and cold, and you still get up, because you said you would. The moment when it's tempting to quit early, but you stay and finish. The moment when you'd rather push it to tomorrow, but you do it now. These are the moments that shape you. These are the moments that build real willpower. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not looking for applause. You're building something deeper, something no one can see, something no one can take from you. You're building self-respect. And that self-respect grows every time you keep a promise. It's not about the task. It's about the identity you reinforce. You become the kind of person who shows up. The kind of person who doesn't negotiate with laziness. The kind of person who knows that every action counts, even when it feels small. And that kind of person wins, because they can be trusted with their own potential. The world is full of people with good intentions and no follow-through. People who start things but don't finish. People who make commitments but don't keep them. Don't be one of them. Build your willpower by making small promises and guarding them with discipline. Start with something today. One thing, not 10. One small action that you can commit to, without fail. Something simple, something real, and then do it again tomorrow, and the next day. And when you feel tired or busy or unmotivated, do it anyway. That's how you train your will. You'll notice something powerful as you stay consistent. Your standards rise. You stop settling for average effort. You stop making excuses. You stop justifying poor behavior. You start expecting more from yourself, not in a harsh way, but in a responsible way. You know what you're capable of. You've seen it in action, and you want to protect it. People will notice too. They'll see your consistency, your steadiness, your discipline. They won't always understand it, but they'll respect it, because consistency is rare. Most people chase intensity. You choose stability. You choose daily effort over occasional effort. That difference adds up fast. Small promises, when kept, compound. They build habits. They build momentum. They build character. And that character becomes the foundation of your future. Not a future built on luck, but one built on discipline. This isn't theory. It's practice. You do the work. You keep the promise. You let the action shape you. You don't overthink. You don't wait. You just move. And the more you move, the more control you gain. The more control you gain, the more strength you feel. The more strength you feel, the more you grow. You are not weak. You are not lazy. You are not stuck. You just need to start small and stay consistent. You need to keep the promises you make to yourself, even when they're quiet, even when they're hard, because that's how you build a life of discipline. That's how you build the strength to take on more. There's nothing wrong with starting small. That's where everyone starts. But don't stop there. Build, add, grow, expand. Let each small promise become a stepping stone to something greater. Let it remind you every day that discipline is not built in theory. It's built in repetition. And when it gets hard, and it will, you remember why you started. You remember who you're becoming. You remember that this isn't about the task itself. It's about the principle of self-leadership, the principle of self-trust. Keep your promises, protect your standard, strengthen your willpower, one small action at a time, every day, no matter what. That's how real change begins. That's how strength is built. That's how you create a life you're proud to live. Chapter 13. Improve your mindset by choosing positive thoughts each morning. Your mind is your most powerful tool, but it needs direction. Every day you wake up, your thoughts begin to form the shape of your day. What you think, you feel. What you feel, you act on. And what you act on becomes the results you see in your life. If you want to take control of your life, you have to start by taking control of your thoughts, especially in the morning. The first thoughts you allow into your mind can either build you or break you. They can push you forward or hold you back. They can give you strength or make you feel like a victim of your circumstances. You don't need to wait for your mind to give you good thoughts. You must lead it. You must wake up and choose what you want to believe about yourself, about your potential, about your day. And this isn't about fake positivity. This is about honest, empowering direction. You choose your thoughts the same way you choose your clothes, with purpose, with care, with clarity. If you don't choose them, the world will choose them for you, and the world is full of noise, fear, and negativity. The moment you open your eyes, you are presented with a choice. You can default to stress, regret, comparison, or fear, or you can take responsibility for your internal world. You can choose strength. You can choose gratitude. You can choose discipline. You can choose hope. That doesn't mean your day will be perfect, but it means your response to it will be stronger. It means you're not walking into life unarmed. You're prepared. Most people don't realize how powerful their mornings are. They roll out of bed, grab their phone, start scrolling, and let random images, headlines, and updates decide how they feel. They hand over control without even realizing it. And then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed, unfocused, or anxious. But when you begin your day with intention, everything changes. You take the lead. You give your mind a job. You give your energy a direction. One of the most effective things you can do is take 5 minutes every morning to speak something powerful into your own life. Not something wishful, something grounded, something strong, something true. You can say, "Today I will lead myself. Today I will take care of my mind. Today I will not be ruled by fear or distraction. Today I will move forward." You don't need to say 100 things. One strong, clear sentence repeated with belief is more powerful than hours of mental wandering. And this isn't a one-time thing. You have to do it daily. You train your mindset the same way you train your body, through consistency. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be strong forever. And you can't expect one good thought to carry you for a lifetime. You choose it every morning, over and over, until it becomes your default. Until your first reaction is strength, not weakness. Until your thoughts lift you, instead of drain you. There will be mornings when your thoughts are not naturally positive. That's normal. Life brings pressure. Life brings setbacks. But that's exactly why this practice matters. When negativity shows up, you don't just let it stay. You meet it with intention. You meet it with awareness. You interrupt it with something better. You pause, you breathe, and you say to yourself, "This is not how I want to live today. I choose something better." Positive thinking is not about ignoring reality. It's about focusing on the part of reality that gives you power. If something needs to change, you don't dwell on the problem. You think about the solution. You think about the action. You think about the lesson. That's a positive mindset. One rooted in responsibility, not fantasy. Your thoughts shape your decisions, and your decisions shape your life. That's why you can't afford to start your day passively. You have to set the tone. You have to take control. And the way you do that is by choosing thoughts that serve your goals, support your values, and strengthen your character. This isn't always easy. Your brain will try to return to old patterns. It will tell you stories from yesterday. It will replay doubts. But you don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You can challenge it. You can replace it. You can upgrade it. You can say, "That's not who I am anymore. That's not what I believe anymore. I'm building something better now." And as you do this more consistently, your mindset changes at a deeper level. You stop needing to force it. You stop needing to fight with yourself. Positive thoughts become more natural, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger, because you led yourself, because you built a mental environment where strength, peace, and purpose are the standard. When your mind is strong, your problems shrink. When your thoughts are clear, your decisions get better. When your beliefs are aligned with your goals, your habits follow. This is not a theory. It's a practice. It's a daily process, one that anyone can do but most people ignore. You can start right now. You don't need anything fancy. You don't need a new app, just a few minutes of silence. A pen, a notebook, or just your voice. Begin each day by saying something that gives your mind direction, something that reminds you who you are and what you're building, something that gets you in the right frame to take control of your time and your choices. If you do this long enough, you'll start to feel the difference. You'll wake up and feel stronger. You'll approach challenges with more calm. You'll stop reacting to every little thing and start responding with clarity. That's the power of a trained mindset. That's the result of choosing your thoughts instead of letting them choose you. The world will keep throwing things at you. Problems, opinions, distractions. You can't control that. But you can control what you think in response. You can decide that your thoughts will be built on purpose, not panic. On gratitude, not bitterness. On solutions, not complaints. And you make that decision every morning before the noise gets loud. This doesn't mean you'll feel good every day. It means you'll lead yourself no matter how you feel. It means you'll stay grounded when life feels chaotic. It means you'll keep moving forward even when it's hard. Because your mind is aligned with your values. Because your thoughts support your goals. Because your mornings belong to you, not to your phone, not to your stress, not to your past. Your mind is your foundation. Take care of it, strengthen it, feed it what it needs, and it will support you when you need it most. One powerful thought can shape your entire day, and one powerful day repeated consistently can change your life. You're not just going through the motions anymore. You're leading your mornings. You're choosing what you believe. You're building strength from the inside out. That's how transformation happens, not by chance but by conscious choice. Every morning, one thought at a time. Chapter 14. Eliminate procrastination by starting tasks immediately when assigned. Procrastination is not a time issue, it's a decision issue. It's not that you don't have enough hours in the day, it's that you hesitate when it's time to act. And every time you hesitate, you create space for doubt. You allow your mind to invent reasons to delay. You invite distraction, and you turn a simple task into a heavy burden. But if you train yourself to act the moment a task is assigned, you remove that delay. You remove the window for excuses. And that changes everything. The habit of starting immediately rewires how your brain responds to responsibility. You stop viewing tasks as pressure. You start viewing them as opportunity. And the more often you act without delay, the less resistance you feel over time. You start to realize that most of the weight of a task isn't in doing it, it's in thinking about it for too long. The overthinking, the avoidance, the dread, that's what drains your energy. When you act right away, you skip all that. You remove the build-up. You get straight into motion. And once you're in motion, you realize it's not as hard as it seemed. The hardest part of most tasks is starting. And if you've built the discipline to begin immediately, you've already removed the biggest barrier. Procrastination grows in silence. The longer you wait, the louder your doubts get. You start thinking about how long it might take. You start worrying if you'll do it perfectly. You start imagining all the ways it could go wrong. And eventually you convince yourself to delay it. But that delay doesn't make the task go away. It just adds stress. It just creates mental clutter. It just steals your peace. The people who perform at the highest level don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for a perfect time. They don't wait to be in the mood. They act, they hear the instruction, and they begin. They understand that starting builds momentum, and momentum makes everything easier. It's not about being in the right state. It's about entering the task and letting progress shift your state. Most people live in constant delay. They carry 10 unfinished things in their mind, and that mental load creates anxiety. It becomes hard to relax, hard to focus, hard to feel motivated, because you're always running behind. The work is always looming. But when you start immediately, you lighten that load. You reduce the number of things waiting for your attention. You bring yourself back to the present. This habit of immediate action doesn't require talent. It doesn't require motivation. It requires a decision to stop waiting, A decision to train yourself to move as soon as the instruction is clear. That doesn't mean you rush. It means you engage. You make the first move. You sit down. You open the file. You draft the first words. You begin. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be complete. It just has to begin. Once the task is in motion, your brain starts to adjust. Your resistance fades. Your mind focuses. Your energy aligns with the work. And what once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable. There's power in this habit. It makes you more reliable. It builds a reputation for yourself and with others. People see you as someone who follows through, someone who doesn't stall, someone who takes things seriously. And that kind of reputation leads to trust. That trust leads to opportunity. Even more important than how others see you is how you begin to see yourself. You stop feeling behind. You stop feeling lazy. You stop feeling like you're always chasing the clock. You feel in control. You feel proactive. You feel organized. That feeling grows every time you refuse to delay. This practice isn't about speed. It's about momentum. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the next thing now. You break the pattern of waiting. You build a new pattern of movement, and you let that movement guide you through the day. You'll find that once you adopt this habit, your stress levels drop. You're not rushing to meet deadlines. You're not cramming things at the last minute. You're not burdened by guilt over what you should have done earlier. You're calm. You're clear. You're consistent. This isn't about perfection. You're going to miss it sometimes. You're going to fall into the old habit. But when that happens, you don't spiral. You reset. You catch it early. You remind yourself action now is better than waiting for the right time. And you step back into movement. There's a sharp clarity that comes from this habit. You stop tolerating the feeling of unfinished work. You stop making deals with your lazy side. You stop feeding the belief that you need more time to get started. You begin to see every task as a simple decision, yes or no, now or later. And you choose now. The more often you choose now, the more you build discipline. That discipline spreads. It shows up in your habits, in your conversations, in your decisions. You begin to act faster, speak clearer, and follow through with more strength. You stop waiting for pressure to build before taking action. You create your own pressure. You lead yourself. You don't need a perfect plan to start. You just need the will to begin. Most things become clearer once you're in them. The problem is that too many people wait for clarity before they move. But clarity comes from motion. You learn as you go. You adjust as you act. You grow through doing. This applies to everything: work, health, relationships, goals. The sooner you begin, the sooner you gain traction. The sooner you gain traction, the sooner you build confidence. And the sooner you build confidence, the sooner you feel strong enough to keep going. You can train this starting today. You don't need a system. You don't need motivation. You need to choose. The next task that comes to you, start it. Not later. Not when it's convenient. Right now. Even if it's only 5 minutes. Even if it's just setting it up. That action becomes your new pattern. Repeat that again with the next task. Then the one after that. Over time, your default becomes action. You stop needing reminders. You stop needing pressure. You just begin. And that identity shift is powerful. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait. The kind of person who gets things done without delay. That's rare. That's respected. That's valuable. You don't need more discipline to start. Starting builds discipline. You don't need more time. You need more decisions. One decision at a time. One task after another. That's how you break the habit of procrastination. Not by thinking about change, by acting on it. This habit brings peace. You end your day knowing you moved forward, knowing you didn't hide from your responsibilities, knowing you didn't waste your moments. And that peace is not something you can fake. It's earned through discipline, through integrity, through showing up on time. Every time, you'll feel lighter, clearer, more capable, not because the work got easier, but because you got stronger. You stopped fearing the start. You stopped overthinking. You learned to trust movement more than mood. And that trust carries you forward. No more waiting for the perfect moment. No more carrying tasks for days. No more building pressure just to feel ready. The new standard is simple. The moment a task is assigned, begin. Not to finish it all at once, but to start it without delay. That's the line. That's the habit. That's how you take your power back. One decision, one action, one immediate start at a time. Chapter 15. Enhance focus by working on one important thing daily. Most people struggle with focus, not because they're lazy, but because they're overwhelmed. Their minds are pulled in too many directions. They wake up with dozens of small tasks waiting to be done, and they spend the day jumping from one thing to the next, never really locking in on anything that truly matters. They stay busy, but they don't make real progress. They end the day exhausted, but they haven't moved forward in a meaningful way. That's what happens when your energy is scattered. That's what happens when you don't make one important thing your top priority every day. You don't need to do 100 things to change your life. You need to focus your full attention on one meaningful task each day and give it everything you have. That's how progress is made. That's how clarity is built. That's how your work begins to matter. When you direct your energy into something important, something that aligns with your goals, you stop wasting time. You stop spinning in circles. You begin building momentum that lasts. The key is to choose your one thing before the day begins. Don't wait until you're already in the middle of distractions. Don't leave it up to chance. Decide it ahead of time. Look at your goals. Look at what really moves you forward. Then pick one thing that matters and commit to it fully. That one task should receive your best attention, your full presence, and your disciplined effort. When you give your focus to one thing, you make real progress. You feel movement. You feel purpose. Doing too many things at once weakens your focus. It divides your attention and spreads your energy thin. But when you discipline yourself to do one thing well, your attention sharpens. Your thinking clears up. Your work gets deeper. And most importantly, you begin to build confidence in your ability to complete something meaningful. That kind of confidence comes from showing yourself that you can stay with something from start to finish. You don't need to eliminate every small task from your life, but you do need to build your day around what matters most. Your focus is too valuable to be wasted on low-level work all day. There is always something that deserves your full attention, something that matters to your future, something that will move your life in the right direction. That task must become your daily anchor. Everything else works around it. You also protect your focus by setting boundaries. You create space where nothing else interrupts you. You silence your notifications. You clear your environment. You close the doors. You give yourself permission to go deep. This isn't about doing more. This is about doing better. Quality beats quantity every time. The deeper your focus, the greater your progress. Most people never reach their goals because they spend their days reacting instead of leading. They react to messages, to requests, to interruptions, and by the end of the day, their most important task is still undone. That's a habit. That's a pattern, and it can be changed. You change it by saying, "Before I do anything else today, I will complete this one important task." You follow through no matter what. You build the habit of deep focus and purposeful work. One of the most valuable skills you can develop is the ability to focus on what matters while everything around you tries to pull you away. The world is full of noise. Your mind will always be tempted by easier tasks, quicker wins, instant gratification. But when you push all that aside and commit your energy to something meaningful, you separate yourself. You rise above the noise. You become someone who produces results, not just motion. You don't need more hours. You need more intention. You need to wake up and ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do today that will make everything else easier or less necessary? Then do that. No delay, no negotiation. Start. Stay in it. Give it your full attention, and finish strong. That single action, done daily, compounds faster than scattered effort. You'll also begin to notice your mental clarity improving. When you focus on one task instead of 20, your brain relaxes, your stress decreases, your anxiety fades. You no longer carry the weight of unfinished thoughts. You live in the moment. You do your work with full presence. That presence not only improves the quality of your work, it improves the quality of your life. Deep focus is rare. Most people live distracted. Most people avoid discomfort by bouncing from task to task. But you're not most people. You're building something different. You're training your mind to stay locked in, to choose depth over speed, to pursue progress over busyness. That mindset gives you an edge in every area of life. Even if you only complete that one task for the day, you've still won, because that task mattered. It moved you closer to your vision. It honored your values. It demanded your discipline, and you answered that demand. That's how character is built. That's how real success is earned, not in bursts of random energy, but in the quiet discipline of focused action. You'll have days when distractions feel louder than usual, when everything in your environment seems urgent. On those days, your job is to return to your one thing. Protect it, prioritize it, begin with it, and don't move on until it's complete. That's how you train your mind. That's how you build self-respect. That's how you make your work matter. This habit is not about getting more done. It's about getting the right thing done. When you focus on the right task, you change your results. You stop wasting energy. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You stop carrying mental weight that doesn't belong to you. You simplify your priorities and amplify your progress. Start with one task. Block out time for it. Give it your full energy. And repeat that every day. Don't try to do everything. Do the one thing that counts, and do it with excellence. That consistency becomes your foundation. It becomes your identity. You stop being someone who just starts things. You become someone who finishes. You're not here to stay busy. You're here to move forward. And the fastest way to move forward is to do what matters most with full intensity. You do that every day. You eliminate distractions. You direct your energy. You build the habit of intentional focus. This habit will carry you through stress, through chaos, through uncertainty. Because no matter what happens around you, you'll always know what matters. You'll always return to your one thing. And that focus becomes your anchor. That anchor keeps you steady. That steadiness makes you powerful. You will feel more accomplished, more clear, more steady. Not because you're doing everything, but because you're doing the right things. You're no longer a slave to urgency. You're no longer drowning in distractions. You've chosen your path, and you walk it, one important task at a time. This is how you rise. This is how you build. This is how you create a future that reflects your effort and discipline. One day, one task, one full commitment to focused work, over and over until your actions match your vision, and your life reflects the power of deep, undivided, purposeful focus. Chapter 16. Cultivate energy through daily physical activity and movement. Energy isn't something you wait for, it's something you generate. It doesn't come by accident, it doesn't appear when everything is perfect. It comes through motion, it comes through movement. It comes when you stop sitting still and start using your body the way it was designed to be used. The body was built for action, and if you don't move it, you lose the strength that keeps your life in motion. The fastest way to feel more alive, more focused, and more capable is to engage in daily physical activity. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need expensive equipment. You need a commitment. A decision to make movement a non-negotiable part of your day. It doesn't have to be complicated. A walk, a stretch, a short workout, a few sets of push-ups. Anything that gets your heart working and your muscles engaged. It's not about performance, it's about energy. It's about creating power inside your body that carries over into every other part of your life. When your body moves, your mind clears, stress begins to fade, doubt begins to shrink. You start breathing deeper, you start thinking sharper, and the fog that kept you feeling heavy starts to lift. That's the power of movement. It realigns your system, it refreshes your state, it reminds you that you're in control of how you feel. A lot of people are tired, not because they're working too much, but because they're moving too little. They sit for hours, they scroll, they wait, and that inactivity steals their strength. It creates a slow, steady drain on their energy that they try to fix with caffeine or distraction. But energy doesn't come from those things. Energy is built from the inside, through intentional physical movement. You can't afford to go days without moving your body. Not if you're serious about your life. Not if you want to be sharp, alert, and disciplined. When you make daily movement a priority, you increase your ability to stay focused. You strengthen your mental toughness. You make yourself more resilient. Because it's not just about muscles, it's about mindset. Every time you move, you train your brain to follow through. You teach it to stay active. You condition it to respond with power instead of weakness. This is not about intensity, it's about consistency. A little bit every day beats a lot once in a while. You're not training for appearance, you're training for vitality, for alertness, for mental clarity, for discipline. And that discipline in your body creates discipline in your habits. It creates steadiness in your emotions. It gives you an edge. You'll notice that the more you move, the better your choices become. You eat better, you sleep better, you seek better, you show up better. That's because your body is now aligned with progress. You're no longer stuck in low energy. You're no longer dragging through the day. You're moving with intention. Daily movement is one of the most basic, yet most powerful habits you can build. It sets the tone for your day. It gives you momentum. It reminds you that strength is something you choose, not something you hope for. Every time you move, you're building capacity. You're expanding what you can handle. You're sharpening your edge. When you skip movement, your mood dips. Your mind becomes cluttered. You feel slower, less alert, less motivated. And it's not always obvious. It builds gradually. One skipped day becomes 2, then 3, and before long, you're in a slump. You can't explain, but the answer is simple. Move. Get outside. Stretch. Push your body. Let it breathe. Let it sweat. Let it carry you back into motion. Don't wait for motivation. Create it. Action first. Energy second. You don't wait to feel good to move. You move, and then you feel better. That's the sequence. That's the discipline. And the more you live that way, the less power fatigue has over you. Your energy is your responsibility. It's not your schedule's fault. It's not your job's fault. It's not someone else's fault. If you want more energy, you must create it. And the way to create it is to move your body on purpose every single day. No excuses, no negotiation. Even 10 minutes matters. It shifts your physiology. It sends a signal to your brain that you're not stuck, that you're not idle, that you're here to perform. That signal shapes how you approach everything that follows. You become more alert in conversations, more present in work, more calm under stress, because you've built an internal rhythm. You've taken charge of your state. Your body and mind are connected. If your body is slow, your mind will follow. If your body is engaged, your mind becomes sharper. And if your mind is sharper, your decisions get better. Your actions become stronger. Your outcomes improve. It all starts with movement. There will be days you don't feel like moving. That's normal. That's when it matters most. That's when the discipline you've built has to kick in. You don't argue with yourself. You don't wait for the right time. You move. You do it anyway, because this isn't about comfort. It's about control. You start seeing the change quickly. Your posture improves. Your breathing deepens. Your tone becomes stronger. Your energy becomes more reliable. And people notice. They see you showing up with more clarity, more presence, more drive. That's the result of a body that's been trained to perform. You begin to feel more alive, more connected, more awake. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you stopped waiting and started acting. You stopped drifting and started moving. You stopped accepting low energy as normal. This habit of daily movement is not something you outgrow. It's something you strengthen. It's a foundation, a reset button, a tool you carry into every season of life. No matter what happens, no matter how busy or stressful life becomes, you always have access to your body. And if you take care of it, it will take care of you. You'll build momentum that carries you through hard days. You'll create a habit that anchors you. You'll have something that clears your mind when everything feels heavy. That's what movement does. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you strong. You don't need to wait for a better time. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to wait for the perfect routine. Start now, today. Move your body. Get your blood flowing. Use what you have, where you are. Start small. Stay consistent. Let that consistency become your advantage. This is your foundation. This is your edge. This is how you take control of your energy. Not with shortcuts, but with movement. Real movement. Daily discipline, daily effort, daily ownership of how you feel. You're not here to live tired. You're not here to survive your days. You're here to rise. And that rise begins the moment you choose to move, to act, to lead your body instead of being ruled by fatigue. Make this a non-negotiable, something you do every day, no matter how you feel. And over time, you'll stop wondering how to get more energy. You'll have it. You'll live it, because you created it. One day, one session, one strong movement at a time. That's how energy is built. That's how your life begins to rise. Chapter 17. Overcome setbacks by immediately finding the next small action. Setbacks happen. Things go wrong. Plans fall apart. Life doesn't always move the way you expect it to. And in those moments, when you're hit with failure or disappointment, you're faced with a choice. You can freeze and feel sorry for yourself, or you can do the one thing that keeps you moving forward. You can find the next small action, not the big solution, not the perfect fix, just the next step, the next move, the next thing you can control right now. That's how you overcome setbacks, not by overthinking, but by acting. Most people get stuck after something goes wrong because they think too far ahead. They look at the gap between where they are and where they want to be, and it feels too big. They panic. They shut down. They start questioning everything. But success doesn't come from figuring it all out in one shot. It comes from staying in motion, one step at a time, one small decision after another. The faster you find that next step, the faster you pull yourself out of the slump. Setbacks only define you if you stop. They only have power if you let them freeze your progress. The moment you act, even in a small way, the setback starts to lose its grip. You remind yourself that failure is a moment, not a sentence. You teach yourself that movement is more important than feeling sorry. You decide that your direction still matters, even if your pace has changed. You might not be able to fix everything at once. You might not have the answer to the bigger problem, but you always have a choice. There is always something small you can do right now. You can clean up the space around you. You can make a list. You can send the message. You can rewrite the paragraph. You can take the walk. You can put your shoes on. These aren't dramatic actions, but they're enough to restart your momentum. Progress is built on momentum, not miracles. You don't need a breakthrough. You need to move. Even if your energy is low, even if your confidence is shaken, even if you feel like quitting. Especially then, you get up, you find something small to do, and you do it. That act becomes your way out. That decision becomes your path forward. This kind of action doesn't erase the setback, but it changes your relationship with it. You stop seeing the setback as something that controls you. You start seeing it as a challenge that sharpens you. It becomes something you work through, not something you hide behind. And that mindset is what makes you powerful, not because you avoid failure, but because you don't stay down when it shows up. Every time you respond to failure with movement, you build resilience. You prove to yourself that you can be shaken without being destroyed, that you can be disappointed without being defeated, that you can still rise even when everything tells you to quit. That kind of proof builds confidence that no external result ever could. You stop needing things to go perfectly to keep working. You stop needing life to cooperate, to stay consistent. You start becoming someone who leads themselves through pressure, through mistakes, through missed expectations, through plans that didn't work out. You don't crumble. You move. Most people waste hours or days waiting for motivation to return. They wait until they feel better to act. But waiting doesn't fix anything. Waiting only delays the solution. Action is what brings clarity. Action is what builds momentum. Action is what brings back your confidence. And the most important action is always the next one. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter how slow it feels. If it moves you forward, it counts. If it keeps you from quitting, it matters. That's the standard. That's how you win after losing. Not with perfection, with movement. You also learn how to trust yourself in the middle of pressure. You stop panicking. You stop spiraling. You remind yourself that a mistake is not the end. That frustration is not a reason to break down. That progress is still possible if you stay calm and act. That inner stability comes from practice, from building the habit of doing something productive the moment things go wrong. You start creating your own momentum. You don't wait for inspiration. You don't wait for everything to be clear. You just ask, what can I do next? And then do it. You focus on the first inch, not the full mile. That inch gets you going. That inch builds strength. That inch leads to another. Every time you do this, you train your mind to respond with discipline instead of delay. You teach yourself to move with purpose instead of panic, and you get better at bouncing back. You don't avoid setbacks, you outwork them. You outfocus them. You outlast them. That's what separates the ones who grow from the ones who collapse. You'll also notice that your emotions shift. When you sit still after a failure, emotions grow stronger. Doubt gets louder. Guilt builds. But when you act, even in a small way, your mood shifts. Your mind resets. You feel a little stronger, a little more grounded. That's the power of action. It brings you back to yourself. It reminds you who you are. You are not your mistake. You are not the missed opportunity. You are not the setback. You are the person who responds. The person who gets up. The person who doesn't disappear when things get hard. And you prove that through movement, not words, not thoughts, movement. This habit changes your identity. You become someone who doesn't get stuck. Someone who keeps showing up. Someone who always has another step in mind. That identity is worth more than any win, because when you have it, you can always rebuild, always recover, always rise again. You don't need to feel strong to act. You don't need to feel confident. You just need to move. Do the thing that's in front of you. Do the part you can do, and trust that your strength will return as you work, that your clarity will come back as you stay consistent. You learn that failure is just data, a message, feedback. It shows you where to adjust. It reveals what needs more attention. It doesn't mean stop. It means refine, rethink, recommit, but only if you keep moving. Only if you refuse to sit in your frustration. You create a pattern, one that says, when things go wrong, I don't freeze, I act. That pattern becomes automatic. You no longer wait days to bounce back. You respond within minutes. That fast recovery is what makes your progress unshakable. You also gain peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you know you'll always move. You'll always respond. You'll always find a way forward. That peace is not loud, but it's strong. And it comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll keep showing up. Start practicing this now. The next time something doesn't go as planned, don't shut down. Ask yourself, what's the next small thing I can do? Then do it. Let that action shift your energy. Let it bring you back into motion. Let it remind you that setbacks are not final. Unless you stop, you become more grounded, more focused, more effective. Not because life gets easier, but because you've trained yourself to handle what it gives you. One small action at a time. That's how you rise. That's how you lead yourself through failure. That's how you build a future that doesn't fall apart when things go wrong. There's always something you can do next. Always something that can be done right now. Don't wait. Don't freeze. Don't disappear. Step up. Move forward. Build the habit of responding with action, no matter what. That habit will carry you farther than any plan. It will give you strength in the worst moments. And it will remind you that progress is always available, if you're willing to take the next small step. Chapter 18. Expand knowledge by learning something valuable every single day. You can't grow if you're not learning. You can't improve if you're not feeding your mind. And you can't build the life you want on outdated knowledge. The world is changing, and the people who stay ahead are the ones who never stop learning. Every single day is an opportunity to expand what you know, sharpen how you think, and upgrade how you live. This isn't about school or degrees. This is about staying awake, staying sharp, and staying hungry for truth. You don't need hours of study. You just need one valuable thing a day, something that stretches your thinking, something that gives you an edge, something that helps you grow. Most people stop learning the moment life gets busy. They rely on what they already know. They repeat the same thoughts. They use the same strategies. They avoid the discomfort of new ideas, and slowly their mind gets dull. Their choices get weaker. Their growth slows down. You can't let that happen to you. You must protect your curiosity. You must feed your intelligence. You must make learning a daily discipline, not an occasional event. This doesn't mean you need to read 10 books a week. It means you approach each day with a learning mindset. You pay attention. You ask questions. You observe people. You seek wisdom. You read. You listen. You reflect. You look for something useful, and you grab it. Then you apply it. Learning without action is just noise. But learning followed by practice, that's how you get better. It can be something small. One concept, one quote, one fact that challenges your assumptions. It might be from a book, a podcast, a conversation, or a mistake. Learning is everywhere if your mind is open. But you have to be intentional. You have to set aside time. You have to create space. You can't fill your day with noise and expect your mind to grow. You must slow down long enough to think, to process, to understand. The goal isn't to impress people with how much you know. It's to build a mind that can adapt, think clearly, and make strong decisions. That's what knowledge gives you. It gives you options. It gives you flexibility. It helps you stay steady when others are confused, because you've studied. You've prepared. You've paid attention. When you learn something new every day, you build confidence, not the fake kind that comes from ego, but the real kind that comes from competence. You know that you're better today than you were yesterday, and that belief makes you more bold, more focused, more disciplined. You'll notice your thinking becomes clearer. Your conversations become deeper. Your choices become more precise. That's what daily learning does. It sharpens everything. It keeps you on your edge. And in a world that moves fast, you can't afford to let your mind fall behind. Learning also protects your mindset. It helps you challenge negativity. It helps you find solutions when problems show up. It helps you understand people instead of reacting emotionally. It builds patience. It builds perspective. And it strengthens your ability to lead yourself through difficult situations. You'll also start to enjoy it. What begins as a habit becomes a hunger. You start craving that new idea, that new strategy, that insight that clicks and suddenly changes how you see everything. One piece of knowledge can shift your path forever, but you only find it if you keep searching, if you stay open. Most people think learning is about information, but the best kind of learning is about transformation. It's not just what you know, it's how that knowledge changes you, how it shapes your behavior, how it improves your results, how it helps you serve better, think clearer, live stronger. Make it part of your morning, or your evening, or your lunch break. But make it daily. A book, a documentary, an audio message, a journal entry. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be consistent. You train your mind the same way you train your body, with repetition, with discipline, with a clear intention to get better. Learning daily builds humility. It reminds you that you don't know everything. It keeps you teachable. It helps you avoid arrogance. And it makes you more patient with others who are still learning too. Because you're in the process with them, you're growing too. Some days it will be deep. Other days it will be quick. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you showed up for your mind. You didn't ignore it. You didn't let your day pass without investing in your intelligence. That consistency compounds. It creates breakthroughs. It sets you apart. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to master everything overnight. You just stay committed. One day, one lesson, one reflection at a time. Over time you'll look back and see how far your thinking has evolved, how much sharper your perspective has become, how much stronger your decisions are. You become someone who can lead others, not because you shout louder, but because you think better. You have insight. You have wisdom. You've been learning while others were distracted. That preparation gives you an advantage. You'll also feel more fulfilled. Growth brings life. It brings energy. It brings momentum. When your mind is growing, your spirit feels awake. You stop dragging through the day. You start leaning into it, because you know there's something valuable in it, something worth discovering. You become more curious. You ask better questions. You stop accepting shallow answers. You go deeper. You stop just reacting. You begin understanding. And that understanding gives you power. Quiet, focused, intentional power. Learning also connects you to others. You become more relatable. You can speak on more topics. You can listen better. You can contribute in ways that matter. That kind of value makes you useful in any room. It makes you someone people respect and remember. It doesn't take talent to learn. It takes humility. It takes attention. It takes the discipline to say, "Today I'm going to grow. I'm going to learn something that will help me think better, work smarter, live stronger." That's the standard. That's the path. And when you live that way, when you truly commit to expanding your knowledge every single day, you become unstoppable. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're always getting better, always evolving, always moving forward. Make this your daily practice. Open your mind, choose something valuable, reflect on it, apply it, and repeat. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect book or the perfect system. Just start, stay consistent, and let your knowledge compound. That's how you expand your potential. That's how you sharpen your edge. That's how you take control of your growth. One day, one lesson, one powerful idea at a time. Chapter 19. Deepen your commitment by reflecting on your progress every night. At the end of each day, when the noise begins to quiet and your work is done, you're given one of the most important moments for growth. A moment where nothing demands your attention, where the day has been lived, and where the truth can finally be seen. This is when you reflect. This is when you pause, slow down, and look back, not to criticize or regret, but to understand. If you want to stay committed to your journey, you have to check in with yourself every night. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. You have to face your effort, your choices, your direction, and your progress. Most people skip this. They go to sleep without checking how they lived. They carry the same mistakes into the next day because they never stop long enough to notice them. They stay stuck in the same habits because they never examine them. They live on autopilot, and they call it discipline. But discipline without reflection isn't growth. It's just repetition. And repetition without understanding is how you waste years of your life doing the same thing and never getting better. Reflection is your tool. It's how you hold yourself accountable. It's how you deepen your commitment. When you look at your day honestly, you start to notice where you stayed strong and where you slipped. You begin to connect your actions with your outcomes. You see what worked and what didn't. You see who you were and who you're becoming. That kind of clarity fuels your drive. It reminds you that you're not just surviving your day, you're building something real, something meaningful. Every night is a checkpoint, a chance to learn, a chance to recommit, a chance to say, this is what I did well, this is what needs to change, this is who I will be tomorrow. That review doesn't take hours. It just takes honesty, and it takes discipline. The kind of discipline that says, I care enough about my life to sit with it, to study it, to make sure I'm actually moving forward. You don't need to judge yourself. You just need to be real. You ask simple questions. Did I show up for what matters today? Did I do what I said I would? Did I give effort where it was needed? Or did I avoid the hard parts? Did I stay focused? Or did I drift? Did I live in line with my values? Or did I get pulled by pressure? You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for progress. You're not trying to be flawless. You're trying to be intentional. You're not trying to prove anything. You're trying to grow. And growth requires feedback. Daily feedback from the only person who knows what really happened. You can write it down. You can say it out loud. You can sit in silence with it. What matters is that you engage with it, that you don't ignore it, that you don't let the days pass without learning from them. Because when you reflect, you remember your reasons. You reconnect with your goals. You relight the fire. You don't let the effort become mechanical. You keep it personal. You keep it meaningful. Reflection helps you track what matters, not just what you did, but how you felt, what gave you energy, and what drained you, what brought you clarity, and what created confusion, what helped you move forward, and what held you back. This level of awareness makes your progress smarter. You stop guessing. You start adjusting. You start taking responsibility for how you feel, how you act, and how you live. When you reflect consistently, your commitment deepens. You stop coasting. You stop letting excuses slide. You start seeing that every day matters, not just the big days but the regular days. You stop waiting for motivation to show up. You become your own reminder. You become the one who checks in, who asks for more, who stays on track because you care. This is where long-term transformation begins, not in the highs, not in the big wins, but in the quiet discipline of showing up, reviewing your effort, and planning your next step. That's how you keep going when it's boring. That's how you stay strong when the results are slow. That's how you lead yourself with clarity, even when life feels uncertain. You don't need someone else to hold you accountable. You hold yourself accountable by checking in nightly. You don't need a wake-up call from the outside. You create your own by looking honestly at your actions. That level of responsibility changes how you carry yourself. You become someone who is aware, someone who is honest, someone who doesn't lie to themselves about their effort or their discipline. When you reflect, you start noticing patterns. The good ones you keep, the bad ones you break. You start catching yourself faster. You start correcting sooner. You stop drifting because you've trained your attention to stay close to your values. You stop getting off track for long because you're checking your compass every night. This habit doesn't just improve your performance, it improves your peace. You sleep better when you know where you stand. You rest deeper when you've closed the day with intention. You don't carry as much stress into tomorrow because you've already processed today. You're not dragging regrets forward. You're learning from them. You're using them. You're turning them into fuel. When you live this way, your days don't blend together. They stack. They compound. Each one is reviewed, corrected, and improved. That kind of structure gives your life rhythm. That kind of review gives your effort meaning. You're not just showing up. You're building. You're refining. You're growing on purpose. Some days the review will be tough. You'll see places where you could have done more. You'll see moments where you gave in. That's not failure. That's feedback. That's truth. That's what growth looks like. You take it, you learn from it, and you do better tomorrow. That process, repeated over and over, makes you unstoppable. Other days the review will show you your progress. You'll remember the win. You'll remember the moment you stayed strong. You'll see how far you've come, and that reminder fuels you. It tells you your work matters. It shows you that your discipline is paying off, that you're not just changing your habits, you're changing who you are. You don't need a perfect system. You just need to care enough to reflect. You just need to ask the questions. You just need to show up for yourself at the end of the day, the same way you showed up at the beginning. That closing moment becomes your anchor, your mirror, your motivator, and it becomes the reason you stay consistent. You're not guessing your way through life anymore. You're paying attention. You're adjusting with intention. You're staying honest. You're staying grounded. And you're keeping your goals in focus, not just once in a while but daily. That's how commitment deepens. That's how discipline lasts. That's how growth becomes real. By facing your day, by owning your effort, by preparing your mind for the next move with clarity and truth. Every night is a chance to connect with your purpose, to remember why you started, to remind yourself who you're becoming. Don't skip it. Don't rush through it. Sit with it. Reflect. Learn. Grow. Then rest. Then get up tomorrow and do it all over again, but better, stronger, clearer, because you took the time to understand your journey, because you cared enough to pay attention, because you're not just hoping to improve, you're making sure you do. One day at a time, one reflection at a time, one commitment at a time. Chapter 20. Achieve consistency by repeating your best effort every day. Success doesn't come from one great day. It doesn't come from one breakthrough, one burst of energy, or one perfect performance. It comes from consistency. It comes from doing your best every single day, even when no one's watching, even when the energy is low, even when the results are slow, even when the pressure is high and the motivation is gone. It's not about being extraordinary once in a while. It's about showing up fully, giving your best, and doing it again tomorrow. The path to mastery, to discipline, to transformation, it's built on repeated effort, not random effort, not emotional effort, but repeated best effort. Your best effort isn't about working yourself to exhaustion. It's about doing the most with what you have in the moment. It's about bringing full presence to your task, full focus, full honesty. It's about knowing what matters most and doing it with all you've got. That best effort becomes your standard. Not for one day, but for every day. That's how you build a foundation you can trust. That's how you create real momentum. You don't need to match someone else's effort. You need to stay loyal to your own potential. Your best effort will look different every day. Some days it will be sharp and powerful. Other days it might be quiet and steady. But the key is showing up with full commitment, not holding back, not going through the motions, giving what you can give, and then doing that again tomorrow. Most people lose momentum because they only give their best when they feel good, when conditions are right, when things are easy. But the ones who rise above that are the ones who don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "What's required of me today?" And then they deliver. They stay consistent because they've made a choice, not to chase comfort, but to pursue discipline. You build self-respect when you give your best daily. You prove to yourself that your word matters, that you're dependable, that you don't wait to be inspired, You don't wait to be in the mood. You just move. You just act. You just follow through. That kind of consistency builds strength you can't get any other way. And the results start to add up. Slowly at first, quietly, but steadily. You start to notice the compound effect of your effort. You start seeing progress where there used to be doubt. You start believing in your ability, not because of one good day, but because you've stacked good days together. You've stayed in it. You've kept going. Consistency makes you resilient. It makes you focused. It makes you reliable. When other people slow down, you stay with it. When other people get distracted, you keep building. When others give up, you keep moving forward. Not because you're better, but because you've made your effort your responsibility. There's power in knowing that you're doing the work, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when the payoff isn't immediate. That power isn't loud, it's quiet, but it shows up in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you handle pressure, the way you show up for your life. Each day you make a decision: show up with strength or slide back into average. Show up with focus or slip into distraction. Show up with discipline or fall into delay. And the more often you choose strength, the more natural it becomes. You stop needing to talk yourself into it. It becomes who you are. The people who win long term are not the ones who explode out of the gate. They're the ones who keep showing up, quietly, consistently, without needing applause, without needing validation, just with a decision to keep doing the work. That's what makes you unbeatable. Not one great performance, but the daily effort that doesn't stop. And you don't need to be perfect. You don't need every day to be flawless. You just need to keep giving your best. Even on the off days, even when you're tired, even when you're frustrated. You do what you can with what you have. You bring your full self to the table. And that's enough. That's what compounds. That's what leads to growth. You begin to live differently when consistency becomes your standard. You stop making excuses. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You start living with urgency, with purpose, with the kind of intention that makes each day count. And that kind of life starts small, with a commitment, with a schedule, with a promise you make to yourself. I will show up. I will give my best. I will repeat it daily. No matter what. You protect your focus. You guard your routine. You keep your energy in check. You stop being reckless with your time. You become more efficient, more present, more aligned with the life you're building. Because every single day is another opportunity to reinforce who you're becoming. Your routine doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. You don't need to get it all done. You just need to show up with focus and effort. The results will follow. Not immediately, but steadily. Because consistency always wins. And you'll feel it too. You'll feel stronger.